Hi, Vanessa. Hope you're doing okay. Hey, people. Hope you're all right. Hope you've had a really good day. Hi, Granny Page. Hi, Vanessa. Hi, DJM. JKK. Hi, all these unusual names. Hi, Donny. I hope you're doing really well. Hi, Peace. Jen, is it Peace Jen? 3732. I hope you're all doing really well. I'm just going to let the numbers build up for a little bit, and I'm going to read some of the evidence that I've acquired in the last few days, and I think it's quite important that I get this out now whilst I can. And the document is progressing very well today. I've managed to get loads into the document and new stuff as well, which I'm going to be talking about a little bit tonight. It's pretty massive, okay, everything I'm finding. And I've just picked some of the sort of key bits really to read out to you. And I know it's going to be a little bit boring, but I want to actually give you the evidence, all right? And I want to make sure I'm not making any mistakes. So I'm going to actually read from the evidential document that I've been doing over the last couple of days. But I hope you're all doing really well. Those of you who don't know me, former UK police constable, since 2022, with the help of others, acquired irrefutable, verifiable evidence of decades, if not centuries old, long government's fraud, certainly in the last 150 years or so, at least, but this would have been planned for a very long time, going right back into the Reformation. Everything you're seeing going on at the moment is to do with this. Literally, the Jeffrey Epstein files are all to do with what I'm exposing, and they're very likely coming out in the way they are to hide something much bigger. It's pretty obvious from the evidence that I'm acquiring that they are trying to control a flow of information and possibly using it as some sort of deception in relation to what is really going on in all of this. So I'm just going to read some really important bits, so just bear with me, okay? And hopefully my screenshots that I've taken are clear enough for me, because I've just rushed doing these now. I was going to come on at 10 and went over a little bit. So throughout my research over the last few months, I've stumbled across Chatham House a few times, didn't really realise the significance of it until somebody suggested I need to look into it a little bit more. So thank you very much to that person who suggested I look into Chatham House, which relates to the Royal Institute of Foreign Affairs. And on the 31st of January, someone actually said that I should look into it a little bit more. So I have, and they indicated that potentially that is what the black nobility linked families to the Vatican may be using to channel the control of the world governments, because we know full well that there's a huge link into the Vatican in all of this. And if you don't know who the black nobility families are, they're a descendant group of families linked into the Vatican. So the black pope, white pope, I think, and the grey pope. I'm not too sure who's related to who. There's quite a few sort of Italian mafia connected families in all of it, and it's hugely relevant to absolutely everything that's going on at the moment, okay? And it does seem as though from the evidence that I've acquired that an instruction was given out to infiltrate world royal family members, and it looks as though the Cray twins were given that task, along with some of the other notorious gangster connections they had. If you don't know about the Cray twins, they were twins in the United Kingdom, very much linked into the London side of things, but also heavily in Kent. And my family associated and were connected to the Cray twins. And every element of this research seems to have me right smack bang in connected to everything in all of this in some way, shape or form. And particularly relevant is the Society of the Knights of the Round Table that's now been linked into this. And somebody has mentioned to me about, which I'd already come across, the Knights of Malta, which I haven't been actually mentioning much, but I have already come across that. An organisation called the, I think we're going to come to it later actually, hopefully, if I've got, it might not be this bit actually, but Knights of the Order of the Malta is a company that I came across, or something very similar, and I originally came across that when I was searching John Harris. John Harris is the person that was coming out talking about Companies House, but not the fraudulent element of it. Okay, he was just giving hints about Companies House, a bit like Gordon Bowden was. He was given Gordon Bowden gave the information leading to the evidence acquired of the non-verification of the companies in relation to it. In other words, the non-verification of names and addresses. And specifically, he was talking about 788, 790 Finchley Road. John Harris was talking about the company's house records and the fact that councils and police and governments will link to these corporations where there's massive court. Apparently, he was talking about court fines accruing against them and all sorts. Okay, linking in with all this. But he wasn't talking about the company's house fraud. Nobody else has actually spoken about the forgery within the company's house records, as far as I'm aware, until I have, for whatever reason. Okay, they've spoken about, like I've said, elements of it, but not the real issue. They've skirted around the real issue, which is actually the forgery. Now, John Harris was almost certainly positioned to say what he was saying. He's linked, like I've said, into the Order of the Malta, which is linked into the Knights of Malta. And he's also connected to an organisation linking in with Jerusalem. Okay, now all of this is tying into Israel, Jerusalem, the Vatican, Germany is a massive part of all of this, Freemasons, etc. And it all goes back into the Reformation, as we said. Anyway, the Royal Institute of International Affairs, also known as Chatham House, is a British think tank based in London, England. Its stated mission is to help governments, mind control, and societies build a sustainable, secure, prosperous, and just world. Conversely, it has been praised for providing a safe space for speakers and encouraging openness. It's laughable, isn't it? Even though they're involved in an international system of crime against all of humanity. Its current presidents are Theresa May. No surprise. Okay, now this is important because Theresa May was the one in either when she was the Home Secretary or she was the Prime Minister, I can't remember, when they reduced the police numbers by 20,000 and shut loads of police stations. This was one of the reasons I left the police, not realising it was going to be linked to this international government fraud. And the fact that it appears as though what they were doing is laundering money through private contracts in relation to Group 4 security and organisations like that. And you actually had Lord Paul Condon, who was the police commissioner for London, is connected on Companies House records to Group 4 security, which is a criminal organisation. He's also linked to BAE Systems, which you're going to be coming to a lot in what I'm going to be talking about in a minute, okay, and the threat in the directed energy and everything that we're going to be mentioning now. So that was actually one of the reasons I left the police. So Theresa May, also Valerie Amos, Baroness Amos, and Helen Clark. Chatham is in Kent and is the town that I was born in. Now, this actual Royal Institute of International Affairs has its headquarters in central London, as I said, at 10 St James Square, which is known as Chatham House. It is a Grade 1 listed 18th century building that was designed in part by Henry Fitcroft and was occupied by 3 British Prime Ministers, including William Pitt, 1st Earl of Chatham, the town where I was born, whose name became associated with a house, and he is featured in the research of Savile Row, connecting to major areas of the fraud and apparent crimes against children particularly, and humanity. So the research surrounding Savile Row is massive, okay? It massively links into the Beatles. It's where the Beatles did their last performance on the roof at Savile Row. Also, Abbey Road connects into it. The research, it's the most famous album cover in the world ever. And there's a lot we go into a whole nother level about this, but how this ties into potentially Paul McCartney having died in 1966, the year of the foundation of the Church of Satan, and then they secretly, using the intelligence agencies, according to a conspiracy, of course, positioned him with a fake Paul McCartney. Now, just whilst we're on the subject, I'll mention it, but it is going off topic a little bit. In that album cover, 3 of them were wearing suits that were made by an organisation called the Nutters of Savile. It was a tailor's organisation, and one of them was not. We can assume, or we can consider, that is because they were telling us in the album cover that one of them had previously died and the fourth one was a fake person. Okay, there's also an organisation on Savile Row which is something similar to Hunters and Sons, and they were tailors that were specifically tailoring, if you like, the attire that you would generally find on hunters. You know, when I say hunters, I mean those involved in fox hunting and things like that, and other types of potential hunting. Okay, i.e. little ones potentially. Now, that organisation links to a company called AWE. AWE has already been connected in multiple areas of the fraud, and it's actually an atomic weapons company. Actually, that's the name of it, atomic weapons. Can't remember what the E stands for. Now, that organisation had already been linked almost immediately to the high priest of the Church of Satan, Peter Gilmore, who was positioned in 2001 at the year of the World Trade Center disaster. Now, this then links into the lead up to the World Trade Center disaster, okay, with Princess Diana's death in 1997. On 1997, on the 31st of October, and then followed within 2 months by the death of the original founder of the Church of Satan. I believe, or I suspect, that this is a Christian deception in all of this. I think Christianity, or it's an infiltrated Christianity, shall we say, I believe, going back a very long time, where in the, and this is what the evidence is starting to suggest, okay, I'm not completely set on this theory, but in the Old Testament, there's a lot of talking about sacrificing of children. And there is a suggestion, there was a person doing some great videos online with quite a big following, actually, saying that actually it's Christians that are behind all of this, or an infiltrated Christianity that believes that it's okay to drink the blood of children and the sacrifice of children, of all of this, which of course is absolutely not. And there is absolutely no way, if you look at the true foundation of Christianity, love thy neighbour, and thou shalt not kill, of course, there is no way that any foundation in Christianity would support the torture of children and the drinking of children's blood. And there was a suggestion that if Jesus came back, that Jesus was trying to get that to all stop. And then, of course, they believed that they got rid of his bloodline. It looks like the Roman connection in all of this, which is linked into Saturnalia, which then ties in with the three Abrahamic faiths and the infiltration of those. So anyway, that's a whole nother subject. I could go down a mile down that direction. So let's just stick on what we're doing. But Savile Row is very, very important in all of this. And I do suspect, although they're claiming it doesn't, I suspect it will relate to Jimmy Savile's family somewhere along the line. So yeah, the reason we've come across that is because the William Pitt, who was a prime minister, which we're going to talk to in a minute about, and links to Chatham, where I was born, he was one of the people that was actually catered for at Savile Row being tailored. Okay, and they also did the clothing for many Prince of Wales and many aristocratic individuals, high profile people from the entertainment industry, including David Bowie. They did the clothes for. This is Hunters that I'm talking about here. Also, they did Hunter and Sons, and they also did the tailoring for David Bowie, I believe. Anyway, I'm going to read from this so I don't get too misdirected here. So we've got this this organisation, and as I've said, linking in with Savile Row. Canadian philanthropist Lieutenant Colonel Reuben Wells Leonard and Kate Rowlands Leonard purchased the property, this is Chatham House we're talking about, in 1923, and then donated the building to the fledgling institute as its headquarters. As a result, the Chatham House name is used as a metonym, looks like metonym, for the institute as a whole. William Pitt, 1st Earl of Chatham, was born in 1708 and he died in 1778. This is what the building was named after. And he was a British Whig statesman who served as Prime Minister of Great Britain from 1766 until 1768. Historians call him Chatham or Pitt the Elder to distinguish him from his son William Pitt. Sorry, I'm struggling to read from it because it's all in Younger, William Pitt Younger, who also served as Prime Minister. Pitt was also known as the Great Commoner because of his long-standing refusal to accept a title until 1766. Chatham House accepts individual members as well as members from corporations, academic institutions, embassies, and non-government organisations. The Institute has also faced scrutiny over perceived elitism, limited funding transparency, alignment with interventionist foreign policy positions, and its early links to British imperialism. It is the originator of the Chatham House Rule, which I need to look into a little bit more. Bronwyn Maddox took up the post of director and chief executive of Chatham House in August 2022. This is the month after Anthony Roberts resigned from Exbourne Manor, which triggered my investigation. A Companies House search shows that Maddox is connected to 5 companies, including IFG Enterprises Limited, that was incorporated in 2010 and has Institute of Government. Oh, where's it gone? Institute of Government as a shareholder on its incorporation document. IFG Enterprises appears to be an insurance company, but there are other companies such as Industrial Fruit Genetics, which show up on the research. The use of acronyms in their system of crime allows them to hide the laundering of money through different industries as part of an agenda. And what I mean by that is they might have a company which has the same first letters, and then they create another company which is a completely different sector of their agenda with the same first letters. They then create a company using those first letters, an acronym, that then gives them the ability to hide the laundering of money through those different sectors in relation to their agenda. Right, so they might have a weapons company and then an insurance company, a health company and then a tobacco company or something like that. Hopefully you get the gist. And they can then hide it through those acronym names that they're using within their organizations. Susan Jennifer Magdalene Hitch. Remember, there's been no verification in names, so they're able to use made-up names, fake names, stolen identities, etc. But they connect IFG Enterprises to 15 companies, including the Institute of Government that we've just mentioned, that was incorporated in 2008 and has Portraits Solicitors on its incorporation document, as well as Lord Sainsbury of Turville, Gate Theatre Company Limited, Headlong Theatre Limited, and International Financial Services London, among other information on its incorporation document. You'll notice there's 2 theatres there, all right, which means a link into the entertainment industry and the actors again. Now, the theatre companies actually link in a lot through the research now, and you've actually got the Duke of York Theatre, which obviously makes a potential reference to Prince Andrew, and that makes critical links into everything. So theatres do make a lot of the connections here. Now, this is important. This is one of the reasons I'm telling you this first bit, is because of the link to Michael Heseltine and where that leads and how that, believe it or not, ties into the research of the removal of lead from paint and the potential threat of directed energy to humanity in all of this. So Michael Heseltine was a former director of the Institute of Government that we found immediately connected to this organisation, which is potentially going to be tying into the Vatican control over humanity via the black nobility families. And he connects to it and makes important connections to the research of the lead removal, as I've said, from the paint, and we're going to come to that later, and also the potential threat of directed energy. So we're going to come to that in a minute. I'm just going to carry on reading about this organisation first of all. A search for portrait solicitors, remember that was on the incorporation document for the Institute of the Government, on Companies House through Google, reveals the first result as a name of Judith Susan Portrait that connects to 17 companies, including Institute of Government, where she was appointed from January to September in 2008. 2008 is a really important year, okay, because it is when the Large Hadron Collider was first activated for the first time. This all does tie in with the colliders, okay? You're going to be seeing later, I'm going to be talking quite a lot about the colliders. And I'm not answering any questions at the moment. Please forgive me. So you might want to hold fire on questions and just come to them when I actually ask later. Otherwise, they might not be answered. Portrait also connects, so this person with the surname of Portrait that links to the Institute of Government connects to Monument Historic Child Trust that was incorporated in 1980, the same year that the Georgia Guidestones were erected. And they were erected in, as I said, 1980, and they represented an upcoming man-made apocalyptic event. Okay, and they were damaged and then removed on the 6th of July 2022. This is 2 days before I approached Anthony Roberts, which then led to his resignation, triggering my whole investigation. The day before the Georgia Guidestones were removed, CERN conducted, or the Large Hadron Collider conducted its first experiment within 3 years, which would take you back to July 2019, which is the same month that Jeffrey Epstein was arrested. It's the same month that a protest took place in Wuhan regarding an incinerator plant, which could obviously be used to destroy bodies if necessary. And then the month afterwards, in August, is when cell towers were erected in Wuhan. And that month, supposedly, Jeffrey Epstein died in prison. Of course, we then had the outbreak deception in December that year, followed by Prince Harry suddenly going to America in January 2020. Which is all relevant, okay? Because you also had the article came out that Prince Harry was wearing the same pair of shoes for a prolonged period of time, which links into the evidence that I've acquired in relation to Madeleine McCann and the potential skinning of children. And that article came out also in July 2019, the same month that Jeffrey Epstein was arrested. But let's just keep on track with this particular topic at the moment. So the Georgia Guidestones were erected in 1980. And this company that we're looking at, which was, as I've said, the Monument Historic Children Trust. The Monument Historic. Is it Children Trust? Yeah, it says Children Trust here. Yeah, okay. The Monument Historic Children's Trust. And it dissolved in June 2011. So this was between the Christchurch earthquake, which was in February 2011, and Jimmy Savile's death, which was in October 2011, supposedly. Now, remember, this is all connected directly into me. You've got Jimmy Savile owned a property at Elizabeth Court, which is in Bournemouth from 1972 until his death, and that links directly to Exbourne Manor, where I was a director. Two of the directors for Exbourne Manor Freehold Limited actually owned a property in that same building that Jimmy Savile owned a flat, and I'm 95% sure, in fact I'm almost certain, they took me to that flat. Okay, when I was carrying out my investigations at Exbourne Manor, I actually went there to the flat, and I'm almost certain it was the same flat that Jimmy Savile was sat in looking out in the BBC video that I've put in my document. And that then links into the royal family, that building, almost immediately. So this company we're looking at, although its incorporation document does not seem to be available, a document shown in the filing history on the 15th of October 2002 confirms that it is linked to the fraud and Exbourne Manor by Jordan's, and it also has a forged register. This is coming in from the Institute of Government, a criminal organisation. They would have known it's criminal, and here we are. We have it straight away linking to Exbourne Manor straight away, and therefore Jimmy Savile. Paul Spokes connects Monument Historic Children Trust to Jerusalem Productions. Limited, that was incorporated at a key time of 1990. Now, this is a key year because it's the year after the World Wide Web was created for CERN in 1989, and it was leading into everything that we're seeing coming up now. All of these big events that have happened since the World Wide Web was created, but there's a lot more before that, of course. But this is a real turning point from when the World Wide Web was created for CERN, and we're going to be talking about that a little bit more and how that links back in with David Heseltine in a minute, and the paint, okay, the lead paint, and also the threat of directed energy. This company had already featured in my research. This is the one we're talking about, the Jerusalem Productions, and that had featured in my research coming in from the Israel attacks of 2023, and that was by researching the Nova Music Festival where that attack supposedly happened. Now, I believe that was completely staged. I absolutely think, they're saying it was Hamas. It was a collaborative deception against all of humanity. Or it's pretty much guaranteed. So, and it has links to also from that to the Manchester Arena bombing. And this is via a Christian company linked to the research of the Rapid Response members again, who were the people that targeted me, saying they would steal my home and my motorhome. This connection was via a Mark David Browning, who connects to various ITN companies, as in the television company, radio companies, including KMFM, all right, which will be Kent Messenger FM. And this particular company was KMFM Folkestone Limited, which is in Kent, with KFM companies also linking with the research of the Archbishops of Canterbury. This same company that I'm telling you about also links to an organisation that I'd identified. This is an immediate connection to this company, by the way. We're not talking a couple of companies away, directly connected. Children's Traffic Club. Okay, that also then links to Tesco immediately, and the former MP for police and crime, who was Chris Philps, who then stepped down. I think he was positioned in 2022 as the MP for police and crime, or whatever the title is, and then he then stepped down from that position in 2024 as I continued to expedite my exposure. And I, of course, was trying to contact him with loads of emails, and I had no email from him directly, but I think I had an email from one of his aides at one point, and basically they refused to assist, of course. So we have links in with the Israel attacks already, and all of these other connections that I've told you coming in straight away. Paul Spokes connects Monument Historic Children Trust to, I've done that bit. And Athiel connects Institute of Government. So we're going back to Institute of Government, which is connected directly to that organisation potentially running the world. At Chatham House, the same name as where I was born, linked to where I was born, connects the Institute for Government to 9 companies, including Virgin Money, UK PLC, where they were appointed from September to December 2025. Not very long at all. Now that suggests that is deliberate, and they want me to find that. Okay, that's after they know full well they're going to know I'm going to research Chatham House. Okay, so this is them deliberately, it looks like, giving me some connections into this, or somebody is. Okay, now this is massive because this links the Virgin Foundation to this now, which is already connected to my wife's former employee immediately, practically. I think it is immediately. It might be 1 or 2 companies away. My wife's former employer, who was Charles Sherwin, who was a dentist in Sherborne. And Sherborne is where the leader of Qatar, the country, was educated. And he links back in again to the Israel attacks from 2023, right where that company was, where I told you about the Christian company, where we've got this link to the rapid response research that I've done on this group that targeted me. We have the leader of Qatar. Okay, he's very important because he owns a big share of Canary Wharf building, which then goes back to the creation of Canary Wharf, which was in around the time of the creation of the World Wide Web, and it involves and links into Margaret Thatcher and John Major, and around the same time that the Gulf War is happening. And when the Gulf War began in 1990, Margaret Thatcher was the Prime Minister, and then before the war ended in February 1991, John Major became the Prime Minister, and they're both linked into this international government fraud. Okay, very, very. I'm not going to say definitely, but all I'm going to say is transgender agenda is a huge part of all of this. All right, you can hopefully know what I'm talking about with that, with who I've just mentioned potentially, and that is obviously leading into 1991 is the year that David Icke came out and said the world will be devastated by earthquakes and tsunamis. It's the same year that the guy linked into the Vatican died, who was seemingly trying to prevent the modernization of the Vatican system in all of this. All right, which goes back to its infiltration of 1870. It was infiltrated according to the research, and then the Vatican, the popes were held almost prisoner in the Vatican City, and then 1871, when the Albert Pike letter appears to have been written to Mazzini, the head of the Illuminati, linking into the Vatican from the Freemasons. Okay, Albert Pike's linked to the Freemasons, setting out the 3 World War deception. Anyway, I'm digressing. So we have these connections straight away. Where was I going with that? Oh, yeah. So they were appointed from September to December to this company. This makes important connections, as I've said, to the Virgin Foundation, linking to major areas of the fraud. The Pizzagate scandal, yeah. So the Virgin Foundation links immediately to Hillary Clinton via the research and the Pizzagate research that I've done. We're talking immediately, literally on Hillary Clinton's incorporation document, you have Virgin Management Limited, okay? And then from there, you've got there's connections to Codden CPM, which then that makes a connection to Sonia Poulton. Sonia Poulton is an independent journalist that ended up refusing to assist me in exposing the fraud, and then went and collaborated with now I think this is all deliberate, and I think they are potentially giving me this evidence and seeing if I can join all of the dots. They then went and collaborated with Anthony Roberts of Exbourne Manor, who was the person that resigned that instigated my initial investigation. Now Sonia Poulton is the person that was supposedly investigating the Madeleine McCann case. The Madeleine McCann case is 100% to do with everything I'm talking about. 100% certainty. There's so much evidence. It's overwhelming in relation to the Madeleine McCann case. So we have this link here, and I've mentioned the Sherborne side of things, the Israel attacks. I've mentioned the bombing of the Manchester Arena. Before joining Chatham House, Bronwyn was a director of the Institute for Government from 2016 to 2022. That's from when the Pizzagate scandal was being exposed until I started exposing the international fraud. An independent think tank based in London, this is just copied from the research surrounding him, promoting better government from 2010 to 2016. She was editor and chief executive of Prospect, the monthly current affairs magazine. Before that, she served as chief foreign commentator and foreign editor and US editor at the Times. Now, all media companies are centralized to this criminal network. They've been doing this a very long time, going right back to the Reformation, the centralizing of all information, controlling all information. It's their biggest weapon, because they can lie to you, they can deceive you, they can draw you in to a certain direction, get you trusting something, turn it around, basically mind control you. They can mind control you through that centralized control of that information. So she was a US editor of the Times after a period at the Financial Times where she ran award-winning investigations and wrote economics editorials before becoming a journalist. Bronwyn was an investment analyst in the City and a director of Kleinwort Benson Securities, where she ran its highly rated team analysing world media stocks. Kleinwort Benson connects to important company Commerce Bank, and the timing of its founding with the apparent infiltration of the Vatican. Okay, so in 1870, Commerce Bank was founded. That's the same year that I've just told you about, of the infiltration of the Vatican, followed by the Albert Pike document letter deception in 1871. And Commerce Bank was actually it was either the first German bank or first German organization that had a branch in New York City. So it's very relevant. A Companies House search shows that all information for the Royal Institute of Foreign Affairs is blocked, and people advised to contact the company. So this is the organisation where I was talking about right at the beginning, Chatham House. They basically blocked all information without you have to contact. Now, I've hardly ever seen that in over 300,000 companies or so I've looked at, probably nearer 400,000 now. I think I've seen that definitely on one hand, put it that way. So that shows you how important this organisation is, where they don't want us looking at anything. So, Michael Heseltine, we're going to come into why he becomes important. Now, to lead into that, I'm just going to talk you through some companies that are on the Jewish Community Centre UK incorporation document. Now, I found this company a very long time ago, and just the one document, the incorporation document, makes absolutely critical connections throughout the whole centralised criminal network they've got in place. It makes almost immediate connections to Gerald McCann, the father of Madeleine McCann, and loads of other immediate connections to Ghislaine Maxwell. Now, this is very interesting because this organisation, it's called the Jewish Community Centre UK, okay, but it has the Charles Darwin Trust as one of its companies on its incorporation document. Now, that links to obviously the theory of evolution, which would disprove the whole religion that organisation is about. Now, if you were truly had the faith of Judaism or whatever faith you believed in, you wouldn't want an affiliation, a legal affiliation, okay, and a financial affiliation with an organisation that would disprove every single religion. This helps to support that what we have is an infiltration of all religious organisations in relation to this international criminal network. Christianity is definitely a huge part of this. And, you know, I'll go back to drinking the blood in the church, the blood of Christ and the body of Christ. Well, there's blood of children connected all the way through the research in all of this. So what this lady was saying, and she was pretty adamant, she said, look, this is Christianity. It's not Satanism. They've set it up to look like Satanism so that it fits the falsified prophecies. And she said Jesus came down to actually prevent this. They thought they'd killed him, or maybe they did, or they didn't. Who knows? Maybe he had children. Maybe the bloodline continues. And they potentially may be trying to find the bloodline of Christ in all of this. And now I had a conversation with someone earlier, and they changed the MK Ultra name, the mass non-consensual mind control of people, to MK Search. Search in 1964. They were searching for something. We know DNA is important in this. We know that the NHS is involved in this, the ability to take blood samples. Therefore, DNA to potentially, we have to consider everything. This is one of the things we now have to consider with all of the connections that are being made. Were they trying to search for something because they didn't succeed in what they wanted to do, or they are somehow trying to bring about some sort of second coming in whatever it is they're doing? I mean, that's fairly. Someone asked me the other day, they said, what do you think the aim of all of this is? And I think they want to bring about the creator somehow in all of this. Now, what creator that is, what they believe in, is a different matter. Now, for whatever reason, and again on this, the conversation I had with someone earlier, just to let you know how quickly I connect to this, okay? So not only are all three of my families linked to the key individuals in all of this, and most of my family, I've literally, who I thought of my family, have thrown me under the bus, okay, as I was finding connections to them in all of this. This includes someone who I was led to believe was my mum. But when my brother-in-law Richard. I was starting to say this yesterday, and I went off topic. So in Exbourne Manor, okay, the company that I was the part of, it had a director. Sorry, the managing agent was Owens and Porter, and one of the people linked to that company was Stephen Owens. Stephen Owens is linked to the Russian government and the International Collaborative Deception, all right? And he was a director. When I was trying to establish what was going on in the building, I was involved as a director with a meeting with him and Diana Betts. He refused to answer any questions, even though the building hadn't had a fire risk assessment since 2017, which is when the Grenfell Tower fire happened, which I actually don't think is a coincidence. I think that was deliberate because they was going to see if I would identify the link to the Grenfell Tower in all of this. And it does. It links immediately into the Temple Trust, which links to the Goldsmith family. You're talking immediately. And every bit of research I've found suggests that that fire, if it was really what they told us it was deliberate. There's overwhelming evidence to suggest that fire in 2017 was deliberate. Anyway, held a meeting. He refused to answer any of my questions. And that was about the financial discrepancies within the company accounts that I was finding, the lack of fire risk assessment on the building and other stuff. And he resigned on the spot, or he gave notice to resign on the spot. Diana Betts was apologizing to him. Anyway, he links to the Russian government. So this was in 2022. And this was a big part of my investigation because obviously and they're going to know that I'm going to think there's more to this. If he's resigning and refuses to answer any questions, it's going to obviously trigger my instinct to investigate even more. They knew that. Of course they knew that. So Stephen Owens is linked immediately to my brother-in-law's family company. Immediately. Now, I only found this out 4 years after I started my investigation. So all of this time, I'm going to my brother-in-law, talking about this, trying to get all of my family to help me and support me with the evidence I'm acquiring, and he knew full well he was linked straight into it. Now, when you go in through that company, his family company, you immediately hit the biggest international weapons companies in the United Kingdom. Okay, you have BAE Systems, you have Thales, you have Leonardo companies, which I think is going to link with Italy and the Vatican. I need to do a bit more research around that. It links practically immediately with Ghislaine Maxwell. And you go in 2-3 companies into that, you hit Marconi companies. Now, Marconi was involved in the first mobile wireless communication tower that was erected on the Isle of Wight in 1898. And Marconi was also involved in the radio station at the Vatican. And then you have an Airbus company. Now, that Airbus company connects practically immediately with Jeffrey Epstein. And within that Airbus company, you have, I think it's within that company, one away, but you're talking no coincidence you have Elon Musk. So for whatever reason, they've been watching me, they've been monitoring me, they've set everything up around me. The introduction to my wife was deliberate. The introduction to Exbourne Manor was deliberate. I suspect my family, a lot of the people that I led to believe were my family are not really my family. So that's how quickly this connects in. And then you've got links to David Icke from almost immediately coming in from my family in Kent. You've got links into key Hollywood organizations, okay, coming in from, bearing in mind we're talking about actors in all of this, and the world is a stage. You have coming in from my mum's employee. You very quickly hit, what was his name? Ridley Scott. Ridley Scott was the director for Gladiator, for example, one of the biggest movies, certainly in the last few decades. Well, that came out in 2000, and Ridley Scott's brother, Tony, lived in Chatham, where I was born and where Chatham House relates. Okay, and he, I believe, committed suicide in 2012, the same year that CERN discovered the Higgs boson, the God particle. When you come in from my father's accountant, you hit, what is it, Eon Productions? I think it's Eon Productions. That's one of the main companies behind the James Bond movies. Okay, so that means you've got a link to the Flemings, who initiated my removal at Exbourne Manor. This is 3.5 hours away. This isn't in the same town. 3.5 hours away than where I was living. And I transferred down there, knowing nobody and presuming nobody knew anyone in my families. All right. Turns out I married into married into a family where they all knew they were all connected to this international government fraud and the key people in all of this. So anyway, this organization we're going to be talking about, this is the Jewish Community Centre UK. And it has, I'm just going to read you some of the companies on the incorporation document. The Royal Opera House, Covent Garden Limited, links into the Christchurch earthquake research, okay? The opera experiment was what was being conducted by CERN and by a facilitator. According to the research, this could be a deception. We're going to come to that maybe later. Supposedly, an opera was an experiment being conducted by the Large Hadron Collider in Geneva and a facility in Italy at the same time that the earthquake happened on the 22nd of February 2011 in New Zealand. Later, I'm going to come and we're going to, hopefully if I've got time for you, don't go on too late tonight, I'm going to talk about the device that links to this that they have at Antarctica, or where the evidence suggests they have a device at Antarctica. All right, and we're going to come to that later. On this incorporation document, we have the Royal Institution of Great Britain, the Princess Royal Trust for Carers, features in the research surrounding the royal, featuring, I haven't put actually, but it does feature throughout the document. Royal Automobile Club Foundation for Motoring Limited. Other relevant organisations on there that aren't royal, obviously royally connected. You have Neuro Diagnostics Limited, which suggests potentially, an infiltration of the human mind. This supports the concerns with the potential plans involving transhumanism and Elon Musk and his Neuralink, which was founded in 2016 when the Pizzagate scandal was being exposed and when a ritual took place at CERN at the Shiva statue, which represents creation and destruction. On the incorporation document, you have the Hampstead Theatre, which features at various times throughout the research and also links into the Hampstead Child Abuse Inquiry. You have Rowley Lane Trust, possibly making reference to the Mark Rowley, Met Chief Constable or Commissioner, and Chris Rowley, who was the former Chief Constable for Lancashire, where Nicola Bulley went missing and was later found dead. Again, 100% to do with this, Nicola Bulley's disappearance and that whole situation, 100%. Parents and Abducted Children Together company on this incorporation document. This is all on that Jewish Community Centre company that I've told you about. All of the directors for Jewish Community Centre UK within that company have addresses shown in London, except Dame Vivian Duffield, who is shown as having an address in Geneva in Switzerland, where the Large Hadron Collider is based, and being a director of South Bank, where there was that actually becomes relevant because there was an investigation in relation to South Bank of crimes against children that also the independent investigator for that links to a supposed independent investigation in relation to the Archbishop of Canterbury and what was his name? I haven't got it in front of me. The child abuse scandal surrounding Justin Welby and it's gone out of my mind. I haven't got it, but someone will know. So they link to South Bank. South Bank connects to Abercrombie and Fitch, with its former CEO appearing to be investigated for sex crimes in 2024 as the exposure continued. And Abercrombie and Fitch connects to the research that I found of the Israel attacks in 2023. Abercrombie also massively connects to Aylsham, okay, which is a village where Vanessa Emery appeared to be taken to after she was kidnapped and the royal family were infiltrated and her being kidnapped and taken to that village. That's got huge, it's a whole other thing we could talk about. I think we do come to it a few times as to what we're talking about tonight. So the former CEO of Abercrombie and Stitch was investigated, and Fitch, was investigated for crimes. And I suspect they used that to conceal or destroy or alter evidence or they were giving me the evidence because they know something about me. They were giving me those breadcrumbs. Abercrombie and Fitch, as I've said, also, no, I haven't said this, also makes quick connections to the research of Jeffrey Epstein and the apparent connections to Victoria Beckham, as explained elsewhere in the document. Vivian Duffield, remember the only person that has an address in Geneva, is linked to some relevant companies all registered in Geneva. This includes several war memorial related companies and Action Against Abduction that was incorporated in 1999, the same year that Putin became the Prime Minister of Russia. It's also when the Church of Satan was re-established after the death of its original founder in 1997, which was within 2 weeks of the death of Princess Diana. This company was originally called the International Centre of Exploited and Missing Children, and its name was changed on the 8th of October 2001, less than a month after the World Trade Center disaster. Oh, I lost my page. The mother of Richard Branson, Yvette Branson, is shown on page 8 of this incorporation document for this company. And Richard Branson has recently been named, I believe, linked to the Jeffrey Epstein files, as well as having an island not far from Epstein. As I've said earlier, Virgin companies connect to my wife's former employer. The Virgin companies linked to my wife's former employer. The Virgin Foundation was incorporated on Companies House in 1987, and its original name was the Mates Foundation, M-A-T-E-S Foundation, and it links immediately to the fraud with Stanley Davis Group on its incorporation document. Virgin Atlantic Foundation, when I last looked, was in the process of dissolving, and all people of significant control ceased in April 2022 as I was making inquiries at Exbourne Manor, and a month after Putin's special military operation was announced against Ukraine. On the 8th of February 2026, I received information. This is new evidence, and it's actually critical because it links back in with, remember, Michael Heseltine in all of this that I really want to focus on, and the removal of lead from paint and how that may tie in with a threat to all of humanity through the threat of directed energy. On the 8th of February 2026, I received information of Richard Branson's connection to Russell Solicitors and Christopher Gossage, and an article from 2013 which states the solicitor who let slip the pseudonym of Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling has been ordered to pay a financial penalty of £1,000 for breaking confidentiality rules. The Solicitors Regulation Authority today confirmed that Christopher Gossage, a partner at London firm Russell Solicitors, has also been issued with a written rebuke. In July, the firm confirmed it was the source of leaked information about the true identity of Robert Galbraith, the writer of crime novel The Cuckoo's Calling. Companies House shows a Russell's Solicitors LLP, having been incorporated in 2017, after Donald Trump was positioned and after the Pizzagate scandal was exposed. Christopher Gossage is shown on the incorporation document, along with other names. Simon Michael Esplen, E-S-P-L-E-N, not dissimilar to Epstein, is on the incorporation document, and in the people record connecting to 7 companies, including Big Jeff Overseas Limited, that was incorporated in 1983, and where its last name change was from Wham Music Overseas Limited in 1987. Yes, that Wham, the band. Christopher Donald Organ connects Big Jeff Overseas Limited to 30 companies, including the following organizations: Us and Them, Productions, with fraud-linked Waterloo's on page 8 of this incorporation document. Waterloo's links to the main currency producer. It also connects to the Freemasons. They also connect to Wham Music Limited, that was incorporated in 1982. They also link to George Michael Songs Limited, that was incorporated as Dukeland Limited. Remember Duke? We're going to be coming back to that, I believe, in a minute. In 1987, before its name was changed to Faith Tours. Remember, got to have faith with George Michael. Faith Tours Management Limited, a month later, and for the last time in November 2001, 2 months after the World Trade Center disaster deception. 100% to do with everything that I am talking about. Absolute certainty, a fact. It's to do with everything I'm talking about. It's all connected to this international government fraud. And this is why you cannot trust anyone that is not exposing this. And anyone that is targeting me, they're just exposing themselves. All right. Anyone that tries to undermine the evidence, they're exposing themselves. It's quite blatant. It connects immediately to the fraud by Stanley Davis Group, again on its document, which seems to be a doctored incorporation document or fraudulent document. Big Boys Overseas Limited was incorporated in 1983 and dissolved in December 2022, the month I first reported the fraud, and when changes took place around the Pizzagate scandal research. It connects straight to the fraud by Stanley Davis Group. This is important, what I'm about to tell you. Happy Harry Holdings Limited is also connected. These are all companies that are connected to that same director. Happy Harry Holdings Limited, that was incorporated as Dukeville Limited in 1987, before its name was changed in 1988, 4 years after Prince Harry was born. It has a registered address in Hampstead, the same area that the abuse inquiry took place. And it also has Rachel Futureman of 124 to 128 City Road and Stanley Davis Group on its incorporation document. The filing history shows that on the 1st of June 2022, the registered address was changed from Russell's, indicating it may have been Russell's solicitor linked to this company, and they may have been trying to conceal the connections that would later be made. Rachel Futureman, the name on the incorporation document of Happy Harry Holdings, has featured in the research surrounding Jill Dando's death, and also links straight to a BlackRock company, with BlackRock being the world's largest asset manager and featuring right the way throughout my research. Andrew Josh Ridgely connects Happy Harry Holdings Limited to 7 companies, including Ingenious Film Partners, with Ingenious Film Partners 2 LLP shown on page 40 of the incorporation document for the Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales, that links almost all areas of the fraud together and connects to my upbringing and my family. This is a royal company that was originally had the name of, if I put it here, it's something similar to, I don't know if I've got it here. Yep. So its original name in 2009 was the Foundation of Prince William and Prince Harry, and connects most areas of the fraud. So we can assume that Happy Harry is going to be Prince Harry. All right. It's linking in with major music connections coming in from the solicitors, linking in with a scandal surrounding Richard Branson, and much more. Now, I'd already made links into, as I've said and touched on earlier, Harry and the potential fate of Madeleine McCann, which would make sense. I mean, let's face it. Why Madeleine McCann? Why is she the most famous missing person in the world? Well, this would explain it. This would explain it. But we have to consider that this has all been set up for the right person to expose it. All right, to find all of this evidence, proving all of this, to lead to we'll say an apocalypse. That doesn't mean the end of the world. All right, a new beginning on Earth. So, where are we going with this? There was something I was going to say that was quite important. Yeah, so that the Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales company that links almost all areas of the fraud was incorporated within 2 weeks of me becoming a director at Exbourne Manor. Okay, I became a director. I think it was in September 2009. This was created at the end of 2009, and there's key changes take place throughout all my research after that company was created. This is also the same year that the second Da Vinci Code movie came out, called Angels and Demons. It was about the Vatican and about CERN, which are the two areas where pretty much all of my research is now converging on. Well, I'm going to come to Michael Heseltine in a minute. Anthony David Russell connects Happy Harry Holdings Limited to 31 companies, including Warner Chappell Music Limited, that was incorporated as Warner Brothers Music Limited in 1950. The overview claims its name was last changed in May 2019 between Julian Assange's arrest and Jeffrey Epstein's apparent arrest. It has a forged register. From the directors of this company, there are hundreds of entertainment companies. Warner Brothers makes the connection to Harry Potter and J.K. Rowling that has already been featured immediately from the research of Sasha Stone, leading to adrenochrome, the blood of tortured children, and a possible dual role by the apparent high priest of the Church of Satan, Peter Gilmore, and where information suggests Stone is associated with the black nobility families of the Vatican as shown elsewhere. And I actually spoke to Sasha Stone whilst he was in Mexico, supposedly in Mexico. It looked like there was a forest behind him. But again, it could have been staged. This all could have been staged for me. And next thing I know, he's in Scotland. He's flown over to Scotland, and a couple of his aides are phoning me, trying to get me to meet with him in person to do an interview. This was before I knew about his connections in all of this. So of course, I had to say, well, there's no way I can meet anyone at the moment with what I'm exposing. So anyway, back onto this company, Susanna Marie Skinner. The name Skinner, again, we've got the Skinner's Academy, we've got the worshipful company of Skinners, we've got the apparent link to the skinning of children alive and the torturing of children in all of this. And remember what I said about Harry's shoes. So, of course, remember, just whilst we're on this subject, right back, that initial bit of information was about J.K. Rowling, and now we are linking to J.K. Rowling almost immediately on the scale of things. There's over 5 million registered companies, and we've now hit J.K. Rowling coming in from that Russell's solicitors, and also what appears to be a company related to Prince Harry, linking with the Virgin Foundation scandal. Susanna Maria Skinner connects Warner Chappell Music Limited, the company we were just talking about, to 23 companies, including HarperCollins Publishers Pension Trustee Company Limited. And HarperCollins has already featured in the research of the infiltration of the royal family, and articles from 2024 as the exposure continued, linking with King Charles and DeSantis, who was the governor of Florida, and a legal dispute in relation to Disney, already linked into HarperCollins in the research. And they've actually featured again in more recent information, which I'm not going to publicize now, but tying into a company called Jesus 2000 Limited, which was found coming in from the involvement in China of this international collaborative deception, because they're all working together, everybody. everything you're seeing is a lie and a deception against the creator, because it's deception, it's lies, it's not truth, it's not integrity, truth as the foundation. Skinner also connects to Fabia Music Limited, that was incorporated in 1992, the same year that the the Catholic Church became a legal entity, and when the Companies House Records started to become electronic. And this becomes very relevant in relation to what we're going to be talking about in a minute, and the threat of directed energy and how that relates to the paint, the lead paint, potentially. So Skinner also connects to this company. It was incorporated in 1992, with its name having been International Music Publications until the 31st of March 2011, less than a month after the Christchurch earthquake. James Robert Little connects this company to various Haymarket companies, which makes the connection to Michael Heseltine, okay, because he actually founded the Haymarket companies. So we now have a link, remember, to that first bit of research we came in, the Institute of Government, Michael Heseltine. We now have a link coming in from this scandal, tying in with It Looks Like Harry, with It Looks Like the Virgin Foundation, this Russell Solicitors Organisation, tying in with the Israel attacks of 2023 and everything else. So we have this link to Heseltine, and we're going to come to him again in a minute. Now, this becomes relevant. I'll read this next bit. Roland John Brunning connects Fabia Music Limited to various Sony companies. So again, we're right there, and you've got loads of Sony companies making important connections, including quickly from the research of Klaus Schwab, who was the chair of the World Economic Forum. When I've researched him, you hit almost immediately Sony companies. Okay, and he announced that he was stepping back as the chair of the World Economic Forum in 2020, of me sending my evidence to the World Economic Forum, and he had been the chair since 1971 when it first began. And we're going to see how 1971 and that all links into this as well in a minute, because we talk about it. So we have these Sony companies quickly linking to Klaus Schwab. We also have a link to Colin Suderman, also links to them, who was involved in the collusion with Sonia Poulton. Well, I don't know that they were all colluding at the same time, to be fair to them, but I know that Anthony Roberts, in his own words, was he said he was basically speaking to her, obviously colluding. Anthony Roberts colluding with Sonia Poulton, and during this live stream that this was mentioned, he was also colluding with a guy who had an alias name of Colin Suderman, and Colin Suderman links straight to a Sony organisation. He links to the military. He links to the blood of the tortured children. Again, this could have been staged, but the evidence is there to support it all, which has been secured. Okay, so a connection through the Companies House Records, and also within LinkedIn research, saying that he had an alias name, linking to the blood of the tortured children, linking to the cell towers via Sony, all right, which is Ericsson is linked to Sony, and he was linked to an Ericsson company, and also he's linked to the military, and also he was linked to the vaccine companies, 2 vaccine companies. I think it was Moderna, and I can't remember the other one. So Roland John Brunning, we have link here. The Sony company links also immediately into a cell tower that I went to. Now, look, you know, they're either controlling my mind, controlling the space around me, and controlling time, all right? Because what happened is just incredible in so many different ways, and this is just a very quick example. So when my wife and I were still, but didn't realise my wife's implication in this at the time, we were still travelling in the motorhome, and we were trying to stay safe, and I was trying to keep my wife safe, and we were in Fort William, and there was a cell tower, and I was like, well, I'm gonna see if I can disable that cell tower. So it was quite a big walk up to this big cell tower. I didn't realise how big until I went up there. and realised it was too big for me to do anything by myself. It had security fences around it. So I thought what I would do is I would secure the evidence of photographs of any labels that are on the equipment. Now, I hadn't done that with any other cell towers. Okay. There's got to be something divine in all of this, because there's just too many things where they'd have to have controlled absolutely everything, and they would have had to put the stickers on the equipment, knowing I was going to go to that point, go to the tower at that point, photograph it, and then research it, not be able to disable it. It's got to be divine. There's just too many things. Anyway, I went up there, realised I couldn't disable it, took some photographs of the company names were on the equipment. There was a couple of companies. One of them was AJ Power. The other one was Neera. And I thought, right, I'll just take the photographs because I can't disable it, and I will go and research those companies. Straight to Ericsson from one of those companies, the military. So AJ Power links straight to the military. From that tower, I found immediate connections to Sony. From those photographs, to the Flemings, to Jeffrey Epstein, to McDonald's, Ericsson, I've mentioned, the military, and loads of other connections that were made. But these were immediate connections that was from that. It was just unbelievable. Now, I can't explain that unless that is a divine intervention, or they've manipulated time. There's other stuff. There's dreams I've had and all sorts. Anyway, let's get back to this. So anyway, Sony also links in with the cell tower that I went up to. Okay, that I was going to disable, and it also links in with Michael Jackson. Okay, and I've done the research in a separate bit of the document, because obviously all of these Epstein files are bringing out so much stuff, but it's obviously hiding a lot more, a bigger deception. But it's brought up a lot of people now saying that actually Michael Jackson was always innocent, and they used him as a scapegoat, and they might have not scapegoat, but they basically turned it around on him, and potentially he was unalived. Well, he was coming out and talking about a particular guy who was a former CEO of Sony, saying he was the devil, and actually calling him the devil publicly. Now, I've researched that person, and he goes straight into everything I'm talking about. Goes straight into everything that I've been talking about. Now, that now suggests that Michael Jackson was trying to protect the children, and actually he was a good guy in all of this. Now, whether that's all a deception and Michael Jackson never died, I don't know. But that evidence now ties in with my evidence massively. So we have this link in with Sony again. What else have we got there? So it links in with the World Economic Forum. I've said about that forum. It also links into, so the person that introduced me to my wife is somebody called Ben Pope, who was my sergeant in Bournemouth Police. And when you research his wife, it links very quickly to Ericsson companies, which means a link to Colin Suderman, the cell towers, everything well I'm just telling you about. Okay, coming in from the person that introduced me to my wife. Now that, of course, could have been staged. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe none of it was staged. And literally, I'm going to end up being someone, pretty huge in all of this, which I don't know what that will mean to the world. Anyway, carrying on. So we also have the link to, where else are we? Oh, yeah. So Sony also connects to multiple assassinations, linking in with a German company called Treuhand, or information of multiple assassinations. This organization, Treuhand, which had already featured in my research. It also, Sony links in very quickly to Richard Knighton, who's the head of the military that was brought in last year. It's the head of the military. It also links to, so Treuhand was a government agency of the German Democratic Republic, which links into the multiple assassinations. Charles William Booth connects Music Publishers Associations Limited. This is the company we were talking about a minute ago, to 99 companies, including EMI companies. That links to the Israel attacks again in 2023, and he connects to Ingenious Film Partners too, as well. Straight away, his name's linked to it. So that's, again, page 40 of the Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales, and links to my friends when I was growing up as well. There are major connections to the criminal network in the music industry from this organisation, which is the Music Publishers Association Limited, including criminal copyright control companies. This seems to be an important central company to the criminal agenda in relation to the music industry. Referring back to Faber Music Limited, Charles Herbert Parker connects to 47 companies, including Royal Ballet School. It was incorporated in 1955, the same year that the relative first Disney resort opened in California. It had already featured in the research of the Wayfair child abuse scandal. If you're not aware of the Wayfair, it was basically, and I only found out about this recently, but apparently it's been going on for quite a while, where they're trying to hide the laundering of money and the movement of money in relation to the crimes against children through websites using furniture companies and such like, where they're naming them people's names on the websites. Well, I've done research from that, and it massively links into all of this. That's actually what led to Savile Row that we spoke about earlier, linking in with the Beatles and everything. This same director also connects to a company which just has a number. Okay, it's not an actual name, and they're using that a lot. It's quite good to go into them, because it seems as though they're hiding things in there that they have used. Parker also connects to this number company that they have used to lead, I've done a spelling mistake there, to criminal weapons companies such as BAE Systems. Again, remember, that links straight to my brother-in-law's family, okay? Making the immediate connection to the cell towers as well. Because, yeah, when you come in from, I forgot to mention, when you come in from that cell tower at Fort William, you hit BAE companies almost immediately. BAE is the largest defence contractor in the United Kingdom, giving them the ability to steal money from the masses through fake defence contracts and laundering it through the taxation and everything else. Peter and Gannon Woodhead connects Faber Music Limited to 5 companies, including Market Research Licensing Services Limited. That is a criminal company, having been incorporated with the same companies as Exbourne Manor Freehold Limited, where my investigation began. This is critical. Woodhead also connects to the Walt Disney Company Limited. Remember, we've just been mentioning Walt Disney, and here it is, that was incorporated as Walt Disney Productions Limited in 1954, which is the same year that CERN was founded. CERN is the company that is behind the Large Hadron Collider. It's also the same year that the Slaughter and May Company was incorporated on Companies House. It's all in the words, everybody, Slaughter and May, the month that they seem, according to the research, to want to commit their sacrifices. This is when Madeleine McCann went missing, the 3rd of May 2007. Woodhead is also connected, we've mentioned that, 1954, same year as CERN. According to its overview, its name was changed for the only time on the 8th of April 1987. Now remember, Walt Disney links into the apparent infiltration of the royal family in a huge way, and I'll mention it actually. I think I come to it a bit in a minute rather than me double repeat myself. Simon Unsworth Bailey connects the Walt Disney Company Limited to 25 companies, including English National Opera, that was incorporated in 1947, the same year that the Doomsday Clock began and microwaves were first made commercially available. And we're going to come to that, how relevant that is, I believe how relevant that is, later when we talk about the removal of lead from paint. It has a forged register with Sadler's Wells Trust on its incorporation document. English National Opera features immediately in the research of Donald Trump, Jimmy Savile, Prince Andrew, the apparent torture and skinning of children, Madeleine McCann, the Albert Pike letter to Mazzini, and the 3 World War deception. Evidence regarding the Christchurch earthquake, linking with the Collider technology, which is now also associated with China, and Antarctica, linking with CERN and the Flemings, which we'll come to a bit later. Bailey, same director that linked to that organisation, also connects to various 20th Century Fox companies, including 20th Century Fox International Limited, that was incorporated in 1995, the same year as the relevant Russian government, royal family and intelligence agency linked, the Hackler International Advisory Board company, that is shown on page 40 of the incorporation document for the Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales, and that dissolved after I exposed it. This company that we're talking about, this Fox International, is shown as being in liquidation. It has BDO LLP, Temple Square, Temple Street as its registered address, that makes major connections to the fraud and almost directly to the black nobility family research of the Vatican, the Orsini company family companies. It has ICC company formations on its incorporation document, making immediate connections to the research of the Maxwells. Bailey also connects to 20th Century Fox companies, including 20th Century Fox Company Limited, slightly different than the first one, that was incorporated in 1916, so it's quite a bit older, and is also shown as being in liquidation and has BDO in its registered address. In fact, most of the companies linked to this director are in the process of dissolving or liquidating, or have already dissolved since I've exposed the fraud. Most of the I've mentioned that. Oh, why can't I zoom in? Nigel Anthony Cook connects the Walt Disney Company Limited to 81 companies, many of which are Disney companies, including the Walt Disney Company International Holding 2, that was incorporated on the 8th of August 2007, days before Exbourne Manor was incorporated, and where my investigations began. It is a criminal company, having been incorporated with the same companies as Exbourne Manor Freehold Limited. I suspect that Nigel Anthony Cook, this name may be an alias being used by Anthony Richard Cook, who is friends of the Flemings and part of Carter and Coley, that had been used to file the forged bank documents produced by the bank for Exbourne Manor for years. Disney connects to the Flemings, to Hitler, Werner von Braun, and the Nazi deception-linked Operation Paperclip, leading to MK Ultra, mass non-consensual experimentation on humanity, and the apparent infiltration of the royal family, as shown elsewhere in the document. The Jeffrey Epstein Island temple, if you look at it, appears to be a possible mockery and duplication of the Disney logo, with its blue and white stripes and a dome on the top. So remember, we're talking about Michael Heseltine in this, and we're going to get to that, but I'm just showing you where he's featured throughout all of this and how it all ties together. And now we're going to be talking about Emmanuel Macron in France. The research shows that Emmanuel Macron had resigned from his job in 2016, the same year as the Pizzagate scandal, and when the ritual took place at CERN by the Shiva statue, to launch his 2017 presidential campaign, the same as Donald Trump. He was elected president in May 2017, the same month that Fleming Co. Limited was incorporated, that connects the research of the world leaders to the fraud, including Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu, the leader of Iran, links the rapid response research groups. It links in now to the leader of North Korea, the leader of China, all linking into a British Taxpayers Association company that was actually dissolved in January this year, even though it was incorporated in 1930. That was a huge sign to me that they are aware that their entire system is on the verge of collapse. Now, it's up to them and you how this collapses and how this is resolved. If everyone follows my strategy and does what I'm suggesting, we will have a transitional system, okay, into an amazing place for everyone to live. Unfortunately, those that have been involved in this international government fraud will be exposed. And I do believe that everything is going to have to be an inversion of what happened with Christ, where instead of Christ being the sacrifice for humanity, these people, through truth, through full disclosure of the truth and facing the consequences, will have to become the sacrifice to a new earth and the exposure of the criminal network that they have had in place. It is the only way to resolve this. There must be full disclosure of the truth so that we reset to truth and we get a system of transparency where this will never, ever happen again. So, leading on from this, anyway, it was also a month before the Grenfell Tower fire, where significant, this was when he became the president in France, significant connections have been made to Exmoor Manor and the Goldsmith family, with evidence suggesting it was deliberate fire, and I'm almost certain it was deliberate. The Goldsmiths are closely associated with the Rothschilds and the Pizzagate scandal. In the research, it's the same year that Donald Trump was made the 45th president, and Louise Smith, or Smythe, was positioned as the new CEO of Companies House. According to the research, Macron had previously worked as a senior civil servant at the Inspectorate General of Finances and as an investment banker at Rothschilds and Co. So, actually, even though I've written that and read it a couple of times, it just makes me laugh. So we have a link straight away to the Rothschilds, meaning he is immediately connected to key areas of the fraud. Macron had been appointed LSE Deputy Secretary General by President Hollande after the 2012 election, the same year that CERN discovered the Higgs boson, a God particle, which is significantly connected to the fraud. More on Macron later. On the 8th of September 2025, as the exposure continued, articles emerged that the French government was collapsing. Whether that was true or not, I don't know, but there's articles here. I've got a link of it. I saw it. Multiple other governments were collapsing as I was exposing the evidence. Whether that was on mainstream or not, I don't know. It was certainly on social media, and the timings of it. I mean, there was evidence that there was information, that the American government was collapsing as I was coming out of prison, which was on the 1st of October 2025. When searching Emmanuel Macron Companies House, Macron Limited is revealed, and it was incorporated in 1981. Anthony John Duncan connects this company to 9 others, including Ascot Court Limited, that was incorporated in 1988 and links immediately to the fraud with Keith Cahan, 788, 790 Finchley Road and A1 Company Services. Most of these details had been previously exposed by Gordon Bowden. Now, I'm now starting to get information that suggests that even Gordon Bowden may have been positioned as part of the deception linking into all of this. Now, I haven't confirmed that yet, but there's Bowden names that are coming up that are becoming potentially relevant. And with everything else appearing to be a deception, we have to consider that he was positioned. If John Harris was positioned, talking about Companies House, but not the fraud, we have to consider that Gordon Bowden was positioned, but not talking about the actual fraud as well. They were both very supposedly in-depth, knowledgeably in-depth. I haven't worded that very well, have I? Very knowledgeable, shall we say, about Companies House, because they're talking about, they would have identified the fraud that I have. They would have identified the fraud, absolutely no doubt, if they knew as much as what they claim they did, but they weren't talking about the fraud. So that it doesn't make sense. So I think Gordon Bowden is also going to have been positioned. David Abdu connects Ascot, the company we're talking about, Ascot Court Limited, to 220 companies, many of which are in the same television companies, in the research of Dewey Evans, one of the doctors assisting in the supposed prosecution of Lucy Letby. One of the companies connected is Evergreen Film Productions Limited. that was incorporated in 1983 and is a criminal company with Mavis June Latter and Jordans and Sons Limited on its incorporation document, making an immediate connection to not only Exbourne Manor but to Mohammed Al Fayed via Swift Incorporations Limited, and which links to the Harrods organisations. Evergreen Companies connects to Hillary Clinton and the research surrounding the Pizzagate scandal of 2016 and the apparent torture and murder of children, now closely connected to the Goldsmiths family and the special advisor for the UK Prime Minister's Douglas Smith. On the 9th of September 2025, within 2 weeks of me adding this information to the document, a vote of no confidence supposedly took place in France, and new Prime Minister Sébastien Lecornu was announced. A Companies House search for Lecornu shows a Lawrence William Lecornu Knight connected to Lecornu Knight Limited, but Lawrence Knight only of an address in Wales on page 7 of the incorporation document. A separate search of Lawrence Knight shows a Lawrence Knight connected to Wolverhampton Masonic Club Limited that was incorporated in 1986 and is shown in the process of liquidation at the time. It may have actually dissolved now as the exposure continued. From here, directors link quickly to multiple Masonic Royal and international airport companies with fraud throughout. The world's main Freemason lodge is connected immediately to Jimmy Savile, the police, and the evidence surrounding Collider technology companies at CERN as shown elsewhere in the document. And my brother-in-law's family links immediately into the main Freemason lodge. Research shows that Sébastien Lecornu had previously worked for Safran Aircraft Engines, and when searched, Safran Helicopter Engines Limited is revealed on Companies House as having been incorporated as Ames Industrial UK Limited in 1973, 2 years after the World Economic Forum began, and the same time when the Swift International Transaction System is started to be used, and the same year that the World Trade Center the World Trade Center building was completed in its construction. And that began in 1966, according to the research, the same year as the foundation of the Church of Satan. And I believe the foundation of the Church of Satan was infiltrated, very likely by those connected to the Christian network in all of this. It is a criminal company with Jordans and Sons Limited on its incorporation document, the main company in the fraud, linking straight to Exbourne Manor, and it has a registered address in Hampshire, United Kingdom, where Deborah Fleming had been the NHS CEO, not the same address, but the county, and who initiated my removal as a director from Exbourne Manor Limited for refusing continuously to file forged bank documents. Many of the directors of the company are French. Sir Colin Fielding connects Safran Helicopter Engines UK Limited to Thales Optronics, Taunton. So we have a Thales company. Thales links with BAE Systems, okay, and Thales also links in very quickly with the cell towers. It links immediately in with the research surrounding Nicola Bulley and many other areas in this. And it was incorporated in 1937 and dissolved in December 2018. As Gordon Bowden was supposedly exposing his evidence of the non-verification side of things. According to its overview, its name was last changed in December 2001, 3 months after the World Trade Center disaster, which was blatantly a staged attack by those behind this criminal system, or it was a staged event and it wasn't what we're being led to believe as a deception. Thales is an important company throughout the fraud and connections, throughout the document connections to the fraud and to the cell towers and also to the Collider technology. A search on Sir Colin Fielding shows this is important. Okay. A search on Sir Colin Fielding, that person that we've just been talking about, shows a government debate on a government website, which is Hansard, with Michael Heseltine, where they are discussing spectrum radio wave frequencies supporting a potential threat of directed energy. Now, we're going to come on to that in a bit more detail in a minute. So this was in, let me just move forward on this and then rather than repeating myself. Do I need to go further any more with that? Yeah, let's go forward a little bit more with this. So Peter Coulson Norris connects, right, so we're going to come back to that parliamentary debate in a minute, okay? Peter Coulson Norris connects Saffron Helicopter Engines UK Limited to Chemring Group PLC. Chemring, what does that make you think of? Chemring in the sky, maybe? I don't know. But interestingly, that organisation, Chemring, was investigated by the Serious Fraud Office in, I haven't got it in front of me, but it becomes very relevant. I wish I could tell you the details, but I believe they were using it as a cover-up because of Chemring's connection in all of this. Right, Serious Fraud Office was investigating them. Peter Coulson Norris connects Safari Helicopters to Chemring's Group PLC. That was incorporated in 1905, so quite an old company, and is a fraudulent entity company with a forged register and a company name of the British Foreign and Colonial Automatic Light Controlling Company Limited. In its, I'm going to jump the page, in its incorporation document, I've seen this at various times throughout the research and suspect it could relate to cloud spraying or seeding. Research shows Norris's prominence in the Air Force and that he had previously tested Prince Charles's, I've lost the page. Research shows that Norris's prominence in the Air Force and that he had previously tested Prince Charles's, his aeroplane, I believe, or no, previously tested him. Sorry, I haven't worded this very well at all. Previously tested him, and early in his career had been posted in South Cerney in Gloucester, where my brother-in-law lives. Okay, Richard Timms in South Cerney. Remember, his family's linked to the main Freemason family, and now we have this link to Charles via this Saffron helicopter. So he was actually the person that tested Charles with his flying. That's it. I need to reword that. Let me just screenshot that so I don't do that again. Oh, how do I do a screenshot? Okay. Research shows that in 2018, the Serious Fraud Office investigated Chemring. Oh, that's good. I didn't think I had it here. Didn't know it was this part of the document. Chemring for money laundering. This was when Gordon Bowden was exposing his evidence, and the Serious Fraud Office are complicit to the fraud and money laundering. I suspect this was an investigation used as a cover to alter, conceal, or destroy evidence of the wider crimes against humanity actually involving the Serious Fraud Office and their Freemason members. This supports their continued collaborative controlled deception and crimes against humanity by funneling defrauded money from the masses through fraudulent defence contracts and their desperation to maintain their Freemason control system and the apparent associated abuse, torture and murder of babies and children. We have to still consider that that's really going on, I'm afraid, as much as I'd love to think it is a deception. And there are things that, hopefully it is because of the other stuff that appears to be, but at the moment we have to consider it's real. Referring back to former French Prime Minister Francois Hollande, he is married to Juliette Gayet, who in 2007 founded Rouge International with Nadia Turintsev. This is the same year that Madeleine McCann went missing. I need to research that company. Referring back to Michael Heseltine, he was a member of the Conservative Party from 1966, the year of the foundation of the Church of Satan, and when the World Trade Center building started to be built, until 2001. So he was a member of the Conservative Party from 1966, the year of the foundation of the Church of Satan, until 2001, when the World Trade Center disaster happened. He had served Deputy Prime Minister and First Secretary of State under John Major from 1995, the year the intelligence agency and Russian Hackler International Advisory Board company was incorporated, until 1997, the year that Princess Diana and the original founder of the Church of Satan died. A Companies House search shows that Michael Heseltine was connected to 11 companies, including Haymarket Media Group Limited, we've already mentioned, that was incorporated in 1932 and has a forged register, meaning it is an illegal entity. All information is being controlled. Okay, so let's move to the next bit. We're going to get to the paint in a minute, if I've got it here. Hopefully, because I've now gone on to the neutrino. Why have I gone on to that? Oh. Is it because Heseltine features in the... Sorry, I'm just going to put my phone up for a minute. Let's see if I can find... I want to get to this paint section now, really. They'll be watching this, guys. This will be getting back to them, so you know they're going to know that everything's being exposed, and most of the stuff's been screenshotted. So if they try and remove the evidence, then it's still there anyway. And don't forget, my document, not to this level, but it's already been circulated to many people, so they're going to know it's probably going to be over. And I'm pretty certain that this would have caused the release of the Epstein files in the extent that we've seen over the last few weeks. Definitely would have had an impact, put it that way. It doesn't look like I've screenshot the paint. I'm just going to have to talk about it then. Try and remember it on, unless it's further on. Sure I did. That's very annoying. Unless it's within this bit and I'm just missing it. Just have to bear with me for a minute. I do apologise. That's the neutrino evidence. That's what we've just said. That's no, that's really annoying. I really wanted to... It's really important. I'm just going to have to try and... Is it there? No. According to the experiment taking place there. No. Right, okay. Let me just... So... From the research... Now, I'm saying this from memory, so please forgive me. It appears the first country that banned lead paint. Now, why is lead paint so important? Well, lead paint would prevent potentially radiation or harmful radiation penetrating any further through that lead paint. Lead paint was banned first of all in France in 1909. Okay, that's the year that the special not military, one of the intelligence agencies companies was created. Right, it's obviously the year before before World War One. So France banned. Bearing in mind we've just spoken about Michael Heseltine linking in with the research of Emmanuel Macron. Okay, from France. France banned the lead in paint in 1909. America banned it in this is from memory, 70 something. I think it was 78. We banned it in the United Kingdom in 1992. Okay. And that was based on legislation that was created from 1989. 1989 was when the World Wide Web was created for CERN. That gives the ability through the World Wide Web to put potentially harmful technology within the home. Okay, the World Wide Web was created for CERN. Remember, CERN is linked to the cell towers. CERN is linked to all of this. Okay, so CERN, the World Wide Web was created by Tim Berners-Lee in 1989. He lived in the same village as the Exbourne Manor, as the Flemings that initiated my removal from Exbourne Manor. 1992, when they banned the lead in paint in the United Kingdom, was the year that the Catholic Church became a legal entity. Remember, this all links in with the Vatican. Okay. It's also the year that the Companies House records started to become electronic. Guess who was in charge of the environmental? I can't remember the exact name, but it would have had involvement in that decision. Michael Heseltine. Okay. In the government at the time. Now, there's also, it's a shame I haven't got it in front of me here because there's a lot of really important evidence in relation to this. Now, remember, he was also involved in a debate that I was telling you about earlier, which was actually, that debate was in 1995, I believe, okay, which was when the Hackler International Advisory Board, the intelligence agencies company, was incorporated. And that debate was talking about telecommunications and frequencies, all right, within government. So that now ties him to the decision to remove the lead and into the potential harm caused by frequencies or radiation emitted from the technology. Now, there was an exemption to the paint being used, okay, according to what I've seen over the last day or two, and that is that lead paint can still be used in grade listed buildings or on grade listed buildings. Well, who do we know who's going to be living in grade listed buildings? It will be the people at the head of all of this, living in manor houses, living on estates, which means they can use lead paints on their properties. Now, all of you police officers out there involved in this, most of you are not going to be living in properties with lead paint. You need to think about this, all right? It's possible you are all going to be targeted, all right? Because the cell tower side of things could be very relevant with what I'm telling you in all of this. Now, they put that exemption in place. And remember, when we came in from that Macron connection, it was a connection via Thales, which links to the cell towers, everybody. All right, Thales or Tails, or however you pronounce it, connects to BAE Systems. It connects to the cell towers immediately and to the military. All right, I've already confirmed that via the research. Going to that cell tower, it links to McDonald's, it links to the crimes against children, it links to the Flemings, it links to Jeffrey Epstein. Okay, it links to all of this from that one cell tower. Now, any of you what else was I going to say before I go any further in this? So the lead paint thing. There's loads more. There's loads more. I'm going to have to do this again because the trouble is, you see, I need to screenshot it from this device and I can't do it whilst I'm on here. Now, there's somebody else that was involved in the organisations that was involved in making that decision. I've done research surrounding them and that becomes relevant, and it links to loads of elite companies, literally elite, written in the companies all the way through it, everybody. You as a PC on the front line, are you going to be considered one of the elite if they target your children and your family in this? No. No, you're not going to be saved, my friends. If you're involved in this fraud, no matter what extent you're involved in, this is now starting to look like that this was part of their plan. all right, to protect themselves and enable the rest of humanity to be taken out through this technology. We have to seriously consider that based on this evidence that I have now found surrounding this lead paint. All right, it's really, really important. So any of you, all right, police, you need to get behind me. You need to help me arrest the solicitors, the accountants, the financial advisors, the heads of the government, the politicians, all right? The solicitors are key in this. They're linked to the Temple Bar. It's in the name, the Temple Bar, okay? Tying in with the Vatican and into all of what's going on, everybody. All right, so if any arrests start to be made by the people or by the police, you need to think of your families. I cannot emphasize this enough. You are all being deceived. All right, you very likely had your hands in the pocket of the tax. All right, a lot of you. Right, you need to think of your family, your children, and humanity in all of this. You have got a very sinister group of people who appear to be now running the world, according to all of the research, everybody. And what I'm going to do now, what I'm going to do is another live, possibly tomorrow, or, the other thing I want to mention, 1947, the doomsday clock began. 1947, microwave ovens became available to the public, okay? This gave them the ability to put potentially harmful technology within people's homes. Now, I'm pretty sure if I research, I'm going to find everyone that bought a microwave had to provide their details. This then would give them the ability to track the effects of those microwaves in people's houses, leading up to the increase in the technology, leading to everything that I'm now talking about, but putting them in place in the houses first as a test in 1947 when the doomsday clock was beginning. Okay, an apocalyptic event against all of humanity. Now, it could be that all of this is laid up as a deception, all right, for the right person to expose it. It could be. It could be. We have to consider that this is a real threat. We have to consider that this is a real threat. Now, there is information floating around that suggests they're going to activate a depopulation event in March this year. Now, I don't know how true that is. I don't know if it's a deception, but apparently that could be the case based on what I'm finding now with the paint and how this ties in with everything. Then we have to consider that this is a real potential threat in all of this. So need to get arresting everybody. Everyone needs to get arresting, and police, you need to support the people in whatever they do moving forward. All right, because all of your families are going to be at risk. Now, if that wasn't bad enough, and nobody needs to worry, nobody needs to be fearful. I'm not fearful because I believe I have this evidence for a reason. So I believe everything's going to be okay in all of this. But, you know, we obviously need to be doing something about all of this. We can't just sit back and do nothing. But if you didn't think that was bad enough, listen to what I'm going to read you now. Okay? So, when I get to the right page. Oh no, is it gone? The page is all. Okay, here we go. This is big, everybody. If I can read it. In late 2025 and early 2026, various people requesting that I research claims made by Eric Hecker, a former Raytheon employee, that a device called the Ice Cube had caused the Christchurch earthquake of 2011. An article publicized now we need to be mindful of, you know, deception in all of this, okay, but I'm going to tell you what I found. An article publicized in 2024, as I'm exposing everything, okay, the exposure of the fraud, says the following. In a handout picture taken on December the 18th, 2010, released by the US National Science Foundation, NSF, on December the 23rd, 2010, it says, the final digital optical module, or in brackets DOM, D-O-M, is prepared to be deployed in the IceCube array, the world's largest neutrino observatory, built under the Antarctic tundra. Oh my goodness. Sorry, I'm really struggling to read it. Under the Antarctic tundra near the US Amundsen Scott South Pole Station. Note the name of that, the Amundsen Scott. We're going to come to that later. That becomes quite important in the evidence. The observatory, finished after a decade of toil on the December the 12th, is located 1,400 meters underground and will help scientists study space particles in the search for dark matter. That's what they tell us about CERN, the Large Hadron Collider. Invisible material that makes up most of the universe's mass. The cube is a network of 5,160 is that optical sensors, which will detect the blue light emitted when neutrino cast. Hopefully the next screenshot's a bit clearer, because that's really hard to read. Detect into ice at almost the speed of light. An Antarctic research facility completed in 2010 has been used by US and international scientists to study subatomic particles from space, but claims on social media that it used directed energy weapons and caused a major 2011 earthquake are false, according to this. Researchers say the facility, known as the IceCube, has a network of optical sensors designed to detect neutrinos for basic science, and a defense expert said it lacks the capacity to produce energy capable of penetrating the Earth. Now, I'm just going to stop there for a minute. If we look at when you type in CMS CERN, it talks about having at CERN the power to create a magnetic field 100,000 times more powerful than the entire Earth. Why would they even need any such energy? This is them telling us on the CERN website that particular bit of information. So now when we're coming to this saying there's not enough power to do whatever it is they're talking about here, I mean, that's a load of rubbish. If they've really got this facility there, then it will be very powerful, I'm sure, if the one in CERN is 100,000 times more powerful. The IceCube neutrino detector is not simply a passive listening device. It's the world's largest directed energy weapon system. This isn't me saying this, by the way. This is just this article that I've seen. So we have to be very skeptical, but I'm going to show you what I found from it. A man identified as Eric Hecker, claiming to be a contractor for Raytheon, says in a video shared on Facebook on February the 11th, 2024, it is responsible for the earthquakes in Christchurch, New Zealand in 2011. The man says in the video, which is from a podcast on the Sean Ryan Show and shared on YouTube in July 2023, Hecker made similar claims in a video shared on TikTok in August 2023. The claim was amplified by popular podcaster host Joe Rogan, who called it a wacky conspiracy theory and added, "I have no idea if any of this is nonsense." Okay, there's also another article that talks about it that I've put in my document. Research shows that there is no obvious Companies House record for Eric Hecker, the person that was coming out with this information. Information shows that his claims only came to attention from 2022, before becoming more prominent in 2023 and 2024. Bear with me. Let me just made a little bit of a mistake there, so I just want to screenshot it. Make sure I go back and rectify it. He claims to have worked at the Antarctic facility from 2010 until 2011 during the start of the project. This obviously raises questions about the possible validity of his claims, in that he only appears to have been publicly speaking about it after I started exposing the international fraud. Okay. Raytheon, that company that he worked for, is unquestionably significantly linked into the fraud. And I'll just give you an idea of how significant Raytheon is, because when I researched Jeffrey Epstein, it linked to Raytheon. And when it linked to Raytheon, at that point, it also linked to a member of the Rockefeller family. The only of 2 times I've seen the Rockefellers on my research, twice. That's one of them. Okay, an actual name of the Rockefeller family. And that research around Raytheon connects to the Lockerbie bombing of 1988, where Jeffrey Epstein was given the task by, can't remember his name, to actually take over Pan Am American Airways. This was in 1987, I believe. He was given this role. But remember, they've provided that information, so it could be staged for me to expose it. But Jeffrey Epstein was given this information, given this task to take over Pan Am American Airways. In 1988, a Pan Am American Airways plane crashes over Lockerbie. Okay, the Lockerbie bombing. I've researched one of the named suspects who was convicted in 2001, and that research goes almost straight back into Raytheon and into Pan Am American Airwaves again, which tells us that was a deceptive staged event. Okay, like what I think most of the terrorist incidents are going to be, right, where it's these same people behind it all. Whether they're actually happening or they're staged and they're deceptive using special effects or whatever, I don't know. But they are definitely not what we are being led to believe. So research of neutrino, what does that actually mean? Bearing in mind that's what this contraption supposedly is involved in. A neutral subatomic particle, this is what a neutrino is. A neutral subatomic particle with a mass close to 0 and half integral spin, which rarely reacts with normal matter. 3 kinds of neutrinos are known, associated with the electron, the muon, and the tau particle. That's what it says. This is where it gets interesting. Now remember, the item, the position, the bit that was positioned in 2010 that he claims, or in this article claims, is called the DOM, D-O-M. A company's house search for that acronym DOM, used for the alleged digital optical module mentioned, reveals DOM-UK Limited that was incorporated as DOMTake Limited, or DOMTake, sorry, D-O-M-E Take Limited, in 1988, the year before the World Wide Web was created for CERN, and its name was last changed in 2015. As in a selection of documents from 1995, it shows that it is a criminal company, having been incorporated with the same companies as Exborn Manor Freehold Limited. Jerome Dennis connects this company to a company called DOM UK Limited without the hyphen and the full word limited instead of Ltd, that was incorporated in 2005, and it dissolved on the 28th of February 2011. This is 6 days after the Christchurch earthquake. Now we have to consider they've staged this for the right person. Okay, I don't think anyone needs to panic, but we have to consider that these people they've lost it basically, and that they are trying to do something to all of humanity in all of this. So again, you police officers out there, you need to get behind me. You need to support me, what I'm doing, and the army and the military, and you need to get rid of, don't harm them, but you need to arrest all politicians, okay? First of all solicitors, all politicians, all heads of government, all right, around the world this is. You need to arrest them all solicitors, and you need to secure any potentially harmful facilities, if they are real. If they are real, of course. It has, on this company, it has CMS Cameron McKenna LLP on its incorporation document. Remember what I said about CMS CERN? 100,000 times the magnetic field of the Earth. Here we have a CMS company. It's the same company that links to Donald Trump, Prince Andrew, Jimmy Savile, the main Freemasons Lodge, and quickly to CERN and to the Madeleine McCann side of things. Exactly the same company. Leslie H. Ireland connects Dom UK Limited to 10 companies, several of which are Black and Decker companies, including Black and Decker that was incorporated as George Tucker Eyelet Company Limited in 1934, before its name appeared to be changed for the only time in 1991. It has a forged register with Trib and Beacon on its incorporation document. Now, I have started to do more research from that point, and what I started to find are connections to time companies. Now, this was starting to get me to think of, well, is there some sort of, they're aiming for some sort of time manipulation with what they're doing, because there was suddenly a load of time companies. I'm not saying that is the case, that that's what they're doing, okay? But that it did, when I started looking further, it did immediately make me think, oh, that's interesting. I wonder if there's a manipulation, they're trying to manipulate time. Now, if let's just say they are trying to manipulate time, could it be they're trying to manipulate time because they've been harming children for centuries and they want to go back and they realise they've been doing something wrong? They've got it all wrong. They were harming children for a reason they now know was not meant to happen. So they're trying to reverse that. I don't know. This is just something I've thought about. I struggle to believe that everyone's evil. I struggle to believe that all of these people are involved in, skinning children alive and torturing children, because what it means is my 3 families that I grew up with are implicated in the crimes against children. Now, I lived with these people and I saw nothing that tells me they would have anything to do with the crimes against children. So there's a couple of ways we could read into that. A, it's all a deception for me or for the right people to come forward and expose it and end up whatever having to do something. Or it's a test to all of humanity to see what's humanity going to do about this, and then they're going to bring some sort of judgment against you all. It may be that they're waiting to see if everything is a deception. It could be that there's a small number of people seeing, is humanity worth saving? Are they actually going to do anything, or are they just going to carry on letting us tell them what they're doing to what we are or are not doing to the children? And if they don't do anything, then humanity deserves to be wiped out and we'll get rid of all of humanity. I don't know. This is the sort of thing, this is the sort of level of consideration we have to have in all of this, all right? Because the deception is so vast. But let me read on anyway. So there's a bit more I need to do on that particular bit of the research. A search for the Ice Cube Neutrino Detector, which is the name of the device, through Google, reveals Neutrino Limited, that was incorporated in 1994, the year before the Hackler International Advisory Board, linking to the Russian government and the intelligence agencies. The incorporation document for this company cannot be viewed. The filing history shows its registered address was changed in January and August 1997, leading up to the apparent death of Princess Diana. There are 2 people in the people record, with William Edward Boone connecting to Little Windmill Hill Residents Association Limited, that was incorporated in 1986. It is a criminal company linked to Exbourne Manor Freehold Limited by Jordan and Sons Limited on its incorporation document that appears to be forged. That now gives us a link to Dom. Remember, we've already linked that straight to Exbourne Manor. This now links straight to Exbourne Manor. So we've got the Neutrino Company and Dom now linking straight to Exbourne Manor, where my investigation began. Perry William Holt. Now, this Holt's name is going to become very relevant in a minute. Perry William Holt connects Little Windmill Hill Residents Association Limited to 7 companies, including Perry Holt Co. Limited, that was incorporated in 2005 and has a registered address of Mercer and Hole, Hole, Trinity Court, Rickmansworth. It has Vantis companies on its incorporation document that I'd not seen before, and has a variation of St. John Street address used throughout the fraud, and is normally connected to the research of the Paedophile Information Exchange and the World Trade Center disaster. The filing history shows that Mercer and Hole was given as the registered address on the 31st of May 2022, as I was making the inquiries at Exbourne Manor. I'd already identified that Rick Wansworth Masonic School had already made important connections from the research of Christian warfare, as shown elsewhere in the document. All right, so remember, this was a Rick Wansworth location here, and was it a company? I can't remember, but it's mentioned Ricksworth. Now, that Christian warfare research links back into major areas of the fraud. Okay, that tie. The reason I was researching that is because someone contacted me and said, Gary, I think this group. Now, again, it could be a deception laid up to me, all right, to find it. Somebody contacted me and said, look, I'm concerned this Christian group could be involved in all of the missing women missing along rivers around the slightly before Nicola Bulley went missing, but also several afterwards. So I looked into it, found a connection from Christian warfare into massive connections into this, to the Goldsmiths family, again, really quickly, linking into Charlie Veach and other areas of the fraud. Remember, we have to consider this is laid up for me to expose it, to find it, and that these women may not even be going missing. We have to consider that. We have to consider the amount of deception that Nicola Bulley didn't even really happen. That's how big, that's how massive, and how we have to think about this. I'm not saying she didn't go missing and it didn't happen, but we have to consider the vast deception in all of this. So this company then links to, where are we now? Vantis Secretaries Limited is shown in the People Record and connects to 692 companies, including Opera UK Limited. Opera, again, remember, that's the experiment that took place at CERN with the CERN device, the Large Hadron Collider, and the facility in Italy. And we have to consider that if that experiment really did take place and it was to do with Christchurch, that at the same time, this facility was also involved in an experiment on that same day where that happened in New Zealand, that earthquake. And this facility is actually quite close to New Zealand, okay, on the scale of things. It's a lot closer. So we have this Opera UK Limited that was incorporated in 2008, the same year that the Large Hadron Collider was activated for the first time in Geneva, and it dissolved in 2015. It has a St. John's Street address on its incorporation document again. Oh, my legs are hurting. Mercer and Hole, remember we mentioned it. Now, I found this very interesting because of the name Hole, all right, because we're talking, remember, I've got evidence that suggests they were trying to create a black hole. So I thought I'll research Mercer and Hole. And this was founded in 1905, and it celebrated 120 years at Wembley Stadium in 2025. Now, Wembley Stadium, I've already linked at very key important areas of the fraud. Okay, and now we have this celebration last year, 2025, of 120 years of this company being formed. On researching the origin of the whole part of the name, because I was interested in where that came from, it states that Harold Hole joined the company in 1933, giving it its second part of its name. Harold Hole immediately reveals a Harold Edward Holt, almost the same as Hole. Now remember, we've already seen a Holt name coming in from this research. We have a Perry William Holt. Now, this was the first article that came up when I tried researching this Hole person, and we have a Harold Edward Hole. Bear with me, sorry. A search for Harold Holt immediately reveals Harold Edward Holt, Holt, who was born in 1908 and he died in 1967. And he was an Australian politician who served as the 17th Prime Minister of Australia from 1966, when the Church of Satan was founded, until his disappearance and presumed death in 1967. He went missing. He held office as leader of the Liberal Party of Australia and held various ministerial positions from 1949 until 1966 in the governments of Robert Menzies and Arthur Fadden. Now, I need to research those names. They could very well be relevant in all of this, because you have, I know I'm thinking of Mackenzie. This is Menzies, okay, and Arthur Fadden. Okay, well, I need to research them. In December 1967, Holt disappeared while swimming in rough conditions at Cheviot Beach in Victoria, Australia. He was presumed dead, although his body was never recovered. His disappearance spawned a number of conspiracy theories. Didn't say what they are. Now, this prompted me with this link to Australia. There is a huge connection to Julian Assange and an Australian doomsday cult linked to Kent, where I was born, and my families. So all three of my families linked to Julian Assange very quickly in the research. Okay, and Julian Assange was linked via one of his mum's partners, I believe, to a cult called the Family that was in Queensland area of Australia. And Julian Assange is very important in all of this. Okay, obviously, every area of research that I've done around him links straight into this international government fraud. One of his careers, he was a hacker by trade generally, but he also worked for the main internet provider for Australia. I can't remember what the name it was. Okay, which makes that link to the threat of directed energy. Now, when I searched that company, all right, and I've secured it in a screenshot, put it into Company's House, it linked immediately to Madeleine McCann. It came up linked to BWB number 2, I think it was, which is Bates, Wells and Braithwaite, which is on the record for the Madeleine McCann, Madeleine's Fund Leaving No Stone Unturned company. Now, that makes a link to Keir Starmer via the Bates, Wells and Braithwaite, and that is the Death Penalty Project Limited company that Keir Starmer was a part of. That Bates, Wells and Braithwaite connection makes the link immediately to the Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales again. So that means, and there's other connections as well, but the research of Julian Assange links to the Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales and Madeleine McCann. A search for a connection of... Okay, hold on, wait a minute. Okay. A search for a connection to Assange and a Holt surname reveals that a Thomas Holt in the United States was interviewed regarding the legalities of the charges against Assange, which is quite interesting. Okay. So a discussion took place with somebody named Holt about what would happen to Julian Assange with the allegations, which he's part of this. He wouldn't have gone to prison. No way would he have gone to prison, everybody. Okay. A search for Thomas Holt reveals Thomas Holt, born 1811 to 1888, which obviously it's not going to be the same person if that's the record. He was an English, we're talking about the Australian connection here, was an English-born Australian pastoralist, okay? So linking to the religious establishments, company director and a politician. He was a member of the New South Wales Legislative Council between 1868 and 1883. He was also a member of the New South Wales Legislative Assembly for 2 periods between 1861 and 1864. This is obviously leading up to the Albert Pike letter, and Company's House was created in 1844. Holt was the first colonial treasurer in New South Wales. Thomas Holt was a Holt born in Horbury, Yorkshire, England. Right, so we've got Holt now linking to England in all of this, and Australia. In November 1811, he initially worked in his father's firm in Leeds. Leeds becomes important. Leeds is where Jimmy Savile was born, and he had a property there. And Leeds companies are becoming important in my research surrounding the Association of Police and Crime Commissioners, because someone they tried using in the criminal court case against me was a person called Amanda Lowe. Amanda Lowe links to the family courts. Amanda Lowe is connected into Leeds organisations, okay, which are criminal organisations, including the Citizens Vice Bureau Company there in Leeds, where Jimmy Savile lived. Now, she was also linked to the Association of Police and Crime Commissioners, that I've linked to Jimmy Savile, and that is linked to the CERN technology. She also links via a company to the leader, the head of the military, Richard Knighton, that was put in position in last year. Subsequently, Holt emigrated. Where with me? Holt filming Leeds, but after 3 years, he became a wool buyer in London after moving from Leeds. Subsequently, Holt emigrated to Sydney in 1842 and made a fortune as a wool merchant. So this is 2 years before Companies House began. In later life, he was the founder of the Royal Prince Alfred Hospital and a member of the Royal Society of New South Wales. So we have this link to royal organisations, and a patron of the Royal Agricultural Society of New South Wales. Interesting, the name, isn't it? South Wales. Remember, what they've got is twinned names. Christchurch, where I worked in the police, is twinned with Christchurch in New Zealand. Wales, South Wales, or Wales, where Prince Charles was the Prince of Wales, where Companies House was based. And now we have South Wales again in Australia. Devoted himself to the poor of London, working with the Salvation Army. Holt went back to England, okay, where he devoted himself to the poor of London, working with the Salvation Army, which is linked to the fraud, by the way, everybody, and the Freemasons, and Mearns and Dr. Bernardo. Links in with the fraud massively. He died at his home in Halcott in Bexley in Kent on the 5th of September after completing his book Christianity of the Poor Man's Friend, and was buried at Abney Park Cemetery. Now, why is this potentially very important? Well, you're going to see coming forward, but we've got these royal links, we've got this surname Holt, we've got the links to charities, we've now got a link to Kent via this person, and we've got a link to Australia. We've got a link to Kent, and we're going to see even more links in a minute, to Julian Assange via the family, because the family, the Doomsday Cult family, links, when you look at the article, it talks about properties in Kent, linking with, it seems, fraud, because it mentions fraud. Obviously, it doesn't talk about Companies House fraud, but it talks about fraud, talking millions. And it talks about the crimes against children within that family as well, and says that they were basically a mixture of Christianity and Eastern mysticism, and they were trying to get people to prepare for nuclear war and all sorts. So remember, we have this Holt connection, and you're going to see how important this gets. Now, I need to do a little bit more digging around this, but remember, we've got that connection to Bexley Heath. Well, Bexley Heath, okay, is where a connection to my family worked for a solicitors organisation that links very quickly to Colliders Limited. I've just got to put my phone on. Charge. Bear with me. Okay. Better. Let's put my other torch on. So I know I haven't answered any question. I'm so sorry. I just need to get this out. Now, my father is massively linked into all of this for whatever reason. I think he's my real father because I look quite a lot like him. He links to Hollywood, like I've mentioned earlier, via his accountant. But when he separated from my mum, he got with somebody else who had been in a relationship, with what I'm led to believe is a Freemason. Okay. And I have to talk about this, unfortunately. Their daughter worked for a solicitor's firm. So my sister-in-law, if you like, but not by marriage, but we'll call her my sister-in-law, worked for a solicitor's firm that links almost immediately to a company called Colliders Limited. And that company has two previous names with liquid in it and funding. Well, Jeffrey Epstein worked for or is linked to liquid funding. Sorry, hold on. Let me get this right. It had Edge and Liquid in two different previous names for this company, this Collider company. And Jeffrey Epstein has connections to liquid funding and Edge, the Edge Foundation. Okay, so we can start to assume, well, maybe that's linked to Jeffrey Epstein. And then you have the Collider connection, which I now know is linked to Jeffrey Epstein with all of the research that I've done around him. He's definitely going to be linked into all of the Collider stuff that's going on. So this is very likely what they're really hiding with everything is how it ties into the falsified prophecies, and whether the torture of the children is real or not. But obviously they're not telling about the torture of the children on the mainstream news. They're keeping it in relation, sort of insinuating that it's sexual abuse, which is obviously incredibly serious. But obviously, if we're talking about the more serious, it's more serious, isn't it? If they're skinning children alive and they're murdering children, then of course it doesn't get any worse than that. So anyway, that's it. That organisation is in Bexley. That solicitor's firm is in Bexley. That firm was connected to my childhood friend's wife, who was called Emma Lee, and she was born on the Isle of Wight, same surname as the Cray's mother. She then changed her name to Ailing. She links almost directly to Ingenious Film Partners 2, and Ingenious Film Partners 2 is on page 40 of the Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales. So you can see how this is all tying in now. Okay, so we've now got this link to this solicitors, to Colliders in Bexley, to Julian Assange, but it gets even more interesting. Research shows Julian Assange was born in Queensland area of Australia, where Holt had previously been prominent, and he had also lived in Kent from 2010. This is Julian Assange from 2010 until 2011, when the Christchurch earthquake occurred, as part of bail conditions regarding the case against him. But it gets even more interesting. I only found this out the other day. An article from the 16th of December 2010, less than a month after CERN Limited was incorporated. Okay, CERN Limited was incorporated in November 2010, and then you had the earthquake on the 22nd of February 2011. So this article states a businesswoman has given £20,000 surety towards the bail of WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange. Kent Catering Company boss Sarah Saunders described the 39-year-old Australian as a family friend and praised his good character and intelligence. WikiLeaks has published 250,000 sensitive American diplomatic cables, details of which appeared in the press. Mr. Assange is fighting extradition to Sweden, where he faces sex allegations. Right, so they had the ability, through investigating him, to manipulate him. It may have been he was, before those sex allegations, he was a good guy, potentially, and they've manipulated him and coercively controlled him, potentially, through that investigation against him. A lot of people, I don't think, even realised that he was investigated for crimes against sex allegations. Earlier, Miss Saunders of Tunbridge Wells. Okay, now this is right near. This is where Sevenoaks is near to that. Sevenoaks is where Princess Diana was educated, as well as Hampshire and also Switzerland. Okay, so of Tunbridge Wells, who owns the catering company Picnic Anyway, had pledged up to 150,000 towards his bail. Mr. Assange was granted bail by Mr. Justice Owsley on Thursday during an appeal hearing at the Royal Courts of Justice in London. According to this, he was initially granted bail by District Judge Howard Riddle of City of Westminster Magistrates Court on Tuesday, pending extradition proceedings due to start on the 11th of January. So it was the 22nd of February, the earthquake, and then we're talking about the January now in the 11th, so just over a month before the earthquake. But he remained in Wandsworth Prison after prosecutors appealed against giving him bail. You're going to see how critical this is in a minute. Company's House search for Sarah Saunders reveals a Sarah Elizabeth Saunders, born in 1961, connected to two companies in Tunbridge Wells, including Gourmet Anywhere Limited, suggesting a catering company that was incorporated on the 7th of September 2010, just over 3 months before the article in relation to her. It dissolved in 2013 after CERN had claimed to have discovered the God particle. The second company is Transition Kitchen Limited, that was incorporated as Gourmet Anywhere Sussex Limited on the 11th of November 2011, 9 months after the Christchurch earthquake and within 2 weeks of the death of Julian Assange, the death of Jimmy Savile. Let me screenshot that. Oh, I can't turn my torch on, so I'm going to be in the dark for a bit. Actually, I can use that one. How do I turn that around? This just blew me away. Absolutely blew me away. What I'm going to tell you in a minute. A separate search for Elizabeth Saunders. Oh, bear with me. Sorry. On the 11th of November 2011, 9 months after the Christchurch earthquake and within 2 weeks of the death of Jimmy Savile, its name was changed on the night, and we know they're connected. Jimmy Savile is connected to Julian Assange. Fact. Very, very, very quickly in the research. On the 19th of, its name was changed on the 19th of April 2012. This is the exact same day that a meeting appeared to take place with Jeffrey Epstein and Stephen Hawking with CERN scientists. It also dissolved in 2013. A separate search for Sarah Elizabeth Saunders shows a person of the same name with a date of birth 4 years older and connected to 6 companies with an address of St Stephen's Court, St Stephen's Road in Bournemouth. The exact same address connected quickly to Tommy Robinson. Okay, and also that address, this is the same building. We're talking about the same building address. It's not even the same road. It's the same apartment within a building. Okay, as Tommy Robinson links to very, very quickly from his name. Okay, and Tommy Robinson also links to Aylsham Villages companies, which then links to Initiative Property Management Limited, which is a company that they were trying to investigate as a fake investigation, as I was exposed in this international government fraud, no doubt as a cover-up. It's all now been no further action taken in relation to that. So this is the exact same company, and it's like right by Exbourne Manor. So we have, that's bound to be the same person and an alias name being used, because that now connects. I believe that is connecting. Okay, although you've got a slight difference in the date of birth, connecting Tommy Robinson to Julian Assange and the Doomsday Cult, which links to Jimmy Savile, which links to Exbourne Manor, the royal family, and everything else. Okay, linking with the Collider technology. One of these companies that she connects to is Seawood Holdings Limited, that was incorporated in January 2010, and it dissolved in 2013. It has a registered address of Ocean Village, Southampton, used throughout the fraud. It connects immediately to the fraud by SDG relating to the Stanley Davis Group on its registration document. Andrew Simon Davis is in the people record, having been appointed for 1 day, and connects to over 5,600 companies. This is the exact same record, connected almost immediately to the research of the 3I Atlas comet and the prophecy of the popes. Let that just sink in how huge this now is. It's massive. It's massive now, okay? As shown elsewhere in the document. This record for Saunders also connects to Seawood Bournemouth Limited, that was incorporated as Dorgrove Limited in 1989, the same year that the World Wide Web was created for CERN. 4 months, for CERN, before its name was changed to Seawood Highcliffe Limited. This is just down the road from where I was, Exbourne Manor. 4 months later, and then again in 1998. It has Keith Stephen Dungate and law and accountancy companies used throughout the... It has Keith Stephen Dungate and law and accountancy companies used throughout the fraud on its incorporation document. Charter Court Secretaries Limited are shown in the people record and connect to 39 companies, including H.J. Holt Limited. So we now have a Holt name again coming in. This is separately coming in from that research of that person linked to Julian Assange, it seems, in Kent at the time of the Christchurch earthquake, now linking in with Bournemouth and into Tommy Robinson, everyone. So H.J. Holt Limited, where they resigned on the 28th of August 2007, 5 days after Exbourne Manor Freehold Limited was incorporated in Bournemouth. The company was incorporated in 1920, and it has a registered address of 13 Hursley Road, Chandler's Ford, Eastleigh, Hampshire, used throughout the fraud. And it has Jordan's and Sons Limited written in hand on its incorporation document, which is the first time I've seen it ever written in hand. And that company links immediately to Exbourne Manor Freehold Limited. The filing history shows that on the 30th of April 2014, its address was changed from Templars House. Templars. Remember, my family links to the Knights Templar, links to the Knights of the Round Table, the Society of the Knights of the Round Table, to my school. The Knights Templar links to my school. Okay, and we have all of these other things going on here. Now we have the Templars House, Lulworth Close. On the 28th of November 2016, its address was changed from Wilkins Kennedy LLP at Templar House after the Pizzagate scandal has been exposed. and 3 months after a ritual appeared to take place at CERN. On the 28th of June 2019, between the arrests of Julian Assange and Jeffrey Epstein, its registered address was changed to Buckley's Chartered Accountants in Romsey. On the 28th of March 2022, as Deborah Fleming was retiring from the NHS to become involved in Exbourne Manor, the address was changed from Unit 3 Shelley Farm in near Romsey at 89 Lee Road, Eastleigh, Hampshire, not far from where my friend Guy Briscoe lived and his wife Amy, and he connects to the Las Vegas shooting and to the research of the what's his name, Harold Shipman, the serial killer. And now I've found from Guy Briscoe a name very quickly linked to him. It's the exact same name on the incorporation document. It's three names. I haven't got it in front of me. Something Richard Wright is the last name. The exact same name on an incorporation document that links to Ricky Dearman. And Ricky Dearman is the dad in the Hampstead child abuse inquiry. So this now links, well, that hasn't linked to him, but this is close to where he lived. But that now links the Hampstead child abuse inquiry to the Las Vegas shooting in 2017. Again, same year that Donald Trump was positioned, and to the serial killer via my friend, who I was positioned around me in Dorset. And he worked on the Isle of Wight for a while. Secretarial Law Limited is shown in the people record for H.J. Holt Limited and connects to 148 companies, including Textron Electronic Systems, UK Holdings Limited, that was incorporated as Blake Dew, DEW 331 Limited. Does DEW refer to a directed energy weapon? Don't know. We have to consider that. On the 28th of September 2001 is when it was incorporated, just over 2 weeks after the World Trade Center disaster, before its name was changed to ESL Defense Holdings Limited. It connects immediately to the fraud by Blake Lapthorne in Hampshire on its incorporation document. Clive Ian Dolan connects Textron Systems. In a minute, you're going to see a name of Trump. You're going to see how massive this is. So Clive Ian Dolan connects Textron Systems. Remember, we're coming in from this duplicate name for the person connected to Julian Assange at the time of the earthquake in New Zealand, okay, where he was in Kent at the time. Clive Ian Dolan connects Textron Systems Electronic, the company we were just looking at, it's a bit of a mouthful, to a BAE Systems and Thales company, and also to Society of British Aerospace Companies. That makes the immediate connection to my brother-in-law, and then very quickly to Ghislaine Maxwell and to Elon Musk. That now ties all of them together within a very short space of time. We have a link to all of these individuals, into the Collider stuff, into everything going on, all tied into Exbourne Manor in this one little spot, okay? And then in a minute, you're going to hear a Trump name come into this. So connection to BAE Systems, Thales companies again, and the Society of the British Aerospace Company that links to my brother-in-law's company, his family's company. And their connections to, this creates connections to international weapons companies, and almost immediately to my brother-in-law's family, Stephen Owens, linking to the Russian government of Exbourne Manor, the main Freemasons Lodge, Jimmy Savile, Elon Musk, as I've said, Ghislaine Maxwell, Donald Trump, and much, much more, including the cell towers. We know that from the research of the Fort William Tower overlooking Fort William. Secretarial Law Limited also connects to Westbourne Road Management Company. Limited, that was incorporated in 1986 and has Howard Thomas on its incorporation document, making major connections through the fraud to my wife's family now. Moore Stevens South LLP is in the people record, and Moore Stephen companies make important connections to my dream that I had that links to McDonald's, to my family in Kent, a place I worked at with my dad, that overlaps with the research acquired from Vanessa Emery. Okay, and that was acquired and linking in to a dream that I had, linking in with McDonald's. So we have now this Moore Stevens South company. Referring back to H.J. Holt Limited, Ida Pamela Trump. Ida Pamela Trump, born in 1926 supposedly, is also in the people record and connects to Archway Court Freehold Limited, that was incorporated in 2005. John David Ray connects this company to Egypt Exploration Society, that was incorporated in 1888, and is the exact same company identified from the information provided to me by Brian Harvey, who also provided information relating to my family's links to the craze that was unprompted by me, as shown elsewhere in the document. This is massive. Now, that Egypt company, I think I'll go into it in a minute, massive connections from it. Now, we're talking about now a connection to ancient history going into this and into my connections in all of this. Okay. Alan Keir Bowman connects this Egypt exploration company to Brasenose Limited, that was incorporated in 1994 and is a criminal company, having been incorporated with the same companies as Exbourne Manor Freehold Limited. QC John Simon Bowers connects this company to Oxford Centre for Hebrew and Jewish Studies, where they had been appointed on October 2019, 2 months before the COVID deception, and they resigned in 2023 as I escalated the exposure. They connect quickly to the Monks Investment Trust Public Limited Company, that is shown on page 40 of the incorporation document of the Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales. So that Trump name is bound to be an alias for Trump, Donald Trump, a fake name linking in with him, because we've already got the links into Trump very quickly from here, or it's going to be a relative. You might know of an Ida Trump that was some sort of a relative of Donald Trump. Certainly not his mum's name. It could be an alias name being used by him for this, which means if it is, obviously he's linking into all of this. He's already linked into Julian Assange and the Doomsday Cult anyway from other areas, but I mean, this is pretty significant with what I've found here. Philip Graham Christopher Parker connects Brasenose to 16 companies, including Lake Hunts Limited. Also, the Green Alliance Trust, and the Green Alliance makes critical and immediate connections to the Goldsmith family, the Temple Trust, and the research of the Grenfell Tower fire, shown elsewhere in the document. So that's obviously when Donald Trump was being brought in. That fire happened in 2017, and here we have a Trump name right by it, linking straight in. We're talking straight into Temple's Trust and to the Goldsmiths family, linking in with Julian Assange, Tommy Robinson, and everything else. Referring to the Alan Keir Bowman, he also connects Egypt Exploration Limited, or whatever the company is, to the Society of the Promotion of Roman Studies, that was incorporated in 1911. So this now links in with Rome, which will link in with the Vatican. It has a forged register. Peter Arthur Clayton connects Egypt Exploration to the Council for British Archaeology, that was incorporated in 1983 and has an address of De Grey House in York. I thought that was quite an interesting name. Research of the Antarctic Treaty shows the following. Now, I've been a long time on here. Let me, what time is it? How much more have I got on here? Yeah, there's quite a lot more actually coming in from this. I'll come to some questions and I might do the rest. If anyone's got any questions, please put them in the comments now. I'll try and answer them. If you've got any. Oh my goodness, my legs are hurting. Sound is good. Try restarting YouTube. Oh, sorry, were you having a problem? That's the problem with me not watching the comments, isn't it? Brian Harvey, hope he's doing okay. I watched most of his stuff. It's possible he's been positioned as part of the deception. It's possible that he knows something about me and he was told to give me a certain amount of information, but then stop and not provide any more. Read about Boots Chemist. How are they involved? I've seen Boots is in my research. I haven't focused on it, but it is there. You've got to remember, all of these large corporations have been centralized to this criminal network. So pretty much all, where you see multiple shops, then they're all going to be part of this fraud. Gives them the ability to avoid paying tax and launder money through those companies as well. If anyone's got any questions, let me know. If not, I will. Shall I read on? My goodness me. I may as well read on whilst I'm here doing it. No questions come up, is there? Oh, why do we feel the warmth more when the sun is on us if the sun doesn't create the heat? I don't know. I'm not going to get into discussions around whether the Earth's flat or whether it's not, or what form we're in or anything like that. We're not really going to know that until you remove this system of fraud. This system of fraud provides the motive for all of the world's lies, all of the deception, all of the real or not real crimes against humanity. This provides the motive for them. So we're not going to know the truth until we get rid of this. I doubt it very much. Okay, I'm gonna read on. I don't think there's any other questions coming in. We have two suns, someone's put, one white plasma, one infrared. Okay, so research of the Antarctic Treaty shows the following. The Antarctic Treaty and related agreements, collectively known as the Antarctic Treaty System, in brackets ATS, remember they love their acronyms, ATS, regulate international relations with respect to Antarctica, Earth's only continent without a native human population. It was the first arms control agreement established during the Cold War, which is a lie, by the way. It's all a lie. 100%. Designating the continent as a scientific preserve, establishing freedom of scientific investigation, and banning military activity for the purposes of the treaty system. Antarctica is defined as all the land and ice shelves south of 60 degrees south latitude. Since September 2004, the Antarctic Treaty Secretariat, which implements the treaty system, is headquartered in Buenos Aires, Argentina. That's going to be very relevant, I would think. The main treaty was opened for signature on the 1st of December 1959, the year after Charles was initiated to become the Prince of Wales, and officially entered into force on the 23rd of June 1961, the year that the main currency producer acquired Waterloo and Sons, which links to the Freemasons. The original signatories were the 12 countries active in Antarctica during the International Geophysical Year of 1957. Argentina, Australia, Belgium, Chile, France, Japan, Norway, South Africa, New Zealand, the Soviet Union, United Kingdom, and the United States. These countries has established over 55 Antarctic research stations for the IGY, and the subsequent promulgation of the treaty was seen as a diplomatic expression of the operational and scientific cooperation that had been achieved. As of 2024, the treaty has 58 parties. A search for Antarctic Treaty System Company's house through Google revealed the first result as Malaria Mining Industries Limited, where Confederation, spelt differently, Antarctica, spelt differently in a different language, had become a significant company of control in March 2022, as I'm making inquiries at Exbourne Manor, and Deborah Fleming retired from the NHS to become involved. It has a registered address of HM Revenue and Customs in Aberdeen in Scotland, the tax criminal company. Malaria Mining Industries Limited had been incorporated in 2018, and it dissolved on the 26th of August 2025 as the exposure continued. There is little information on malaria, but the research reveals malario. I need to do a little bit more research on that, so I'm not going to worry about reading that bit. Maya Miller is in the people record of the company and connects to EU Public Prosecutor's Office Limited. This I found really strange. That was incorporated on the 8th of August 2022, a month to the day after I approached Anthony Roberts. So we have now coming in from the Antarctic Treaty a connection almost immediately to this organisation, which is a EU public prosecutors company, started up literally the day I approached Anthony Roberts. It's bizarre. Sorry, a month to the day after I approached Anthony Roberts, I do apologise, of Exbourne Manor, and it dissolved on the 7th of May 2024. So it was a month to the day. It was incorporated on the 8th of August 2022, a month to the day after I approached Anthony Roberts of Exbourne Manor, and it dissolved on the 7th of May 2024. Well, that is a week before I released the evidence of the threat of directed energy linking to the Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales. And that's the same day that I released that evidence is when they unveiled the what appears to be a satanic portrait of the king. And it was 2 days later that Vanessa Emery contacted me, leading to all of the evidence from what Vanessa was claiming. So that was this is a week to the day. Page 9 of the incorporation document shows EU PPO of an address of Aberdeen and cites governing law EU Council regulation of the 12th of October 2017 on establishment of the EU PPO. This is bizarre. So it's as if they've set something up after I've started exposing the fraud, linking to an organisation of prosecuting, linking to Antarctica. It's just really weird. And I've got the website. An internet search of EU PPE shows a European crime reporting company. Now, I haven't done a report via it about the criminal network that I've uncovered, but obviously I will. It's as if that's been set up, and if I find it, you never know is he going to join all of the dots, and is he going to report the crime through this organisation? If he does, then we'll admit to what we've been doing. Who knows? It's worth a try. So that's something I need to do. A search for the Atlantic Treaty Systems acronym ATS reveals that ATS Corporation Limited was incorporated in July 2009. This is the same year that the Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales was incorporated, and when I became a director of Exbourne Manor, and it dissolved on the 18th of January 2011, almost a month to the day before the Christchurch earthquake. It has a French address and David Bruno Cartel and agent. This is important. It has an agent written there of Griffin's Court, 243 to 32 London Road, Newbury, Berkshire, United Kingdom, with a postcode on its incorporation document and as its registered address. A Griffin's company also makes, I would say, critical connections to CAPB Limited, which is the company that was incorporated as Robert Fleming and Co. Limited in 1932, that links to information of the World Trade Center disaster. A search for Griffin's London Road, Newbury, that address, reveals the directors of Griffin's Property Unite. This is just blew my mind. A search for Griffin's London Road, Newbury, revealed the directors of Griffin's Properties Limited, with them having the exact same address. Griffin's Properties Limited was incorporated in 2013 and dissolved on the 15th of July 2022, which was 2 days after Anthony Roberts of Exbourne Manor resigned, triggering my investigation. Neil Richard Buckingham connects this company to Griffin's Business Consultants Limited, that was incorporated in 2014 and dissolved in 2024 as the exposure continued. It has an address of King William Street, used throughout the fraud. Oh, it's further on that blew me away. Oh, getting tired, but I don't know whether to finish this or still 116. I may as well say it whilst I'm here, aren't I? The location mentioned for the device, remember we said earlier, for this device in Antarctica, Amundsen Scott South Pole Station. And the research shows that it is a United States scientific research station at the South Pole of the Earth. It is the southernmost point under jurisdiction, not sovereignty, of the United States. The station is located on the higher plateau of Antarctica, 9,301 feet above the sea level. It's directly below this that apparently this device has been built. So that would suggest it's an American device. If this particular post is owned and that particular point is owned by America, it would suggest that they are behind, if that device is real, that device. It is administered by the Office of the Polar Programs of the National Science Foundation, specifically the United States Antarctic Program. It is named in honor of Norwegian Roald Amundsen and Britain Robert F. Scott, leaders of the competing first and second expeditions to reach the pole in the summer of 1911 and 1912, 100 years before the relative Christchurch earthquake and the Titanic disaster. According to the information, the following experiments have taken place at this place. And Amanda was one of the experiments from 1997 to 2009, an experiment to detect neutrinos. The Ice Cube experiment from 2010 to present, an experiment to detect neutrinos, and that's the experiment that presumably they claim caused the Christchurch earthquake. Radio Ice Kreknov experiment from 1999 to 2012, an experiment of high energy UHE neutrons. Neutrino array radio calibration of NARC. And I'm not going to read all of this. There's another one. So Ascarian, this becomes potentially relevant. Ascarian radio array from 2011 until the present, which is a successor of another experiment currently, as of 2022, under construction. So that's the year that I was exposing the fraud. So this is a radio array, a successor of Rice, currently, as of 2022, under construction. This is the year of the Christchurch earthquake, and the 2022 date has not been updated. Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? Why haven't they updated that date? So I'll read it to you again. This is important, actually. So it was conducting this experiment 2011 till the present, and this was a successor of the Rice experiment, currently, as of 2022, under construction. Why isn't it updated since 2022? I only got this the other day. Now that tells us potentially they're changing their plans, and this exposure has prevented what they're doing at the device in Antarctica, potentially. Because otherwise, why haven't they updated that? And I've found that quite a few times throughout my research. They haven't updated information since the exposure of the fraud has happened. This suggests they may have stopped producing information on this as the date has not been updated, or possibly discontinued their plans. The remake of the 1982 movie The Thing was released in 2011 and was based on an isolated Antarctic outpost. Among other events, including a suspicious death at the location, here are some of the other events that occurred. Now, that death was quite interesting, that suggests that potentially whatever that is emitting may have killed somebody there working on that base. Anyway, in 1991, Michael Palin visited the base on the 8th and final episode of the BBC television documentary Pole to Pole. This is an important year in the fraud, and when David Icke said the world would be devastated by earthquake and tsunamis. On January the 10th, 1995, NASA, PBS and NSF calibrated for the first live television broadcast from the South Pole, titled Spaceship South Pole. This is the year that the intelligence agency, Russian government and royal family-linked Hackloit International Advisory Board was incorporated and dissolved after being exposed. The research shows the location is an international collaboration involving the Russians. The 2011 BBC television programme Frozen Planet discusses the base and shows footage of inside and outside of the elevated station. It's called The Last Frontier episode. A company's house for Amundsen-Scott reveals the Scott Amundsen Race Limited, obviously going to be connected, that was incorporated on the 25th of January 2011, less than a month before the Christchurch earthquake. And it dissolved on the 2nd of October 2012, after CERN claimed to have discovered the God particle. Alistair Edward Henry Worsley is the only director and connects the company to the Shackleton Foundation that was incorporated in February 2007. 3 months before Madeleine McCann went missing. It has Clyde & Co. on its incorporation document that connects to the centralised criminal legal system, the BBC, the Royals, the De Reyers, the Vatican, and most areas of the fraud via Field Fisher, as shown elsewhere in the document. These are basically immediate connections to all of those things I've just told you about. Investment banker David Cornell is of an address in Hampshire. The county where the Flemings are prominent is also shown on the incorporation document. So this is now linking in with that exact same location where this base is, where the supposed device is underneath. And remember, the other research we've already found links straight to Exbourne Manor from the lens, the DOM, and also the neutrino company goes straight to Exbourne Manor as well. So this is all linking in to all of the same people involved in all of this. Wilson's Company Secretaries Limited is shown in the People Record, and they was appointed to the Shackleton Foundation on the 8th of September 2008, 2 days before the Large Hadron Collider in Switzerland was first activated. It connects to 301 companies. Information shows that the Shackleton Foundation was established in 2007 by the direct descendants of Sir Ernest Shackleton from 1907 to 1908, who was part of the Nimrod expedition to celebrate the legacy of the legendary polar explorer and great man. Nimrod, the name they gave to that expedition, is also a biblical figure mentioned in the book of Genesis and the books of Chronicles. The son of Cush, and thus the great grandson of Noah. Nimrod was described as the king in the land of Shinar, Lower Mesopotamia. The Bible states that he was a mighty hunter before the Lord and began to be mighty in the earth. Nimrod became a symbol of defiance against God. So they have named this expedition relating to the defiance against God, against creation. And that is what I'm finding with all of the evidence. It appears an inversion, a separation from the Creator in all of this. Biblical and non-biblical traditions identify Nimrod as the ruler associated with the Tower of Babel. Jewish, Christian, and Islamic accounts variously portray him as a tyrant who led its builders, turned people from God, and opposed Abraham, even attempting unsuccessfully to kill him by fire. It's pretty huge. I had previously identified that Oxfordshire's diamond light source is linked to a former Nimrod named device. So we're going to go into what that device is now and some of that research. Why would you call it Nimrod, against God? These are people linked to Christianity, supposedly. Okay, against God. They're not Christians, everybody. They're infiltrated Christians. They've got to be, which is why we've got the apparent blood of the children and everything else, and why it looks as though, with all of this, let's go back to the consideration of were they trying to create a black hole in 2012? We've got to still consider that. I hope it's a deception, but with the inversion of everything and the separation from creation in the whole system they've got, we've got to seriously consider all of the options here. Diamond light source. Okay, let's talk about diamond light source in Oxfordshire, or just Diamond, is the UK's national synchrotron light source science facility located at the Harwell Science and Innovation Campus in Oxfordshire. Its purpose is to produce intense beams of light whose special characteristics are useful in doing something in many areas of scientific research. There are more than 50 light sources across the world with an energy of 3 GeV, whatever that means. Diamond is a medium energy synchrotron currently operating with 32 beamlines. Someone contacted me and said there was a collider in Australia. It's actually a light source like this. So, it appears they've got 50 of all of them. Now, this is all going to be linking in with CERN and all of their other ridiculous technology that they've got going, which is just insanity. If it's real, I mean, it's insane. In my mind, why would you need electromagnetic power 105,000 times more powerful than the Earth? It's just okay. Anyway, the Diamond Synchrotron is the largest UK-funded scientific facility to be built in the UK since the Nimrod proton synchrotron. So again, they've called it a previous synchrotron the opposite of God, against God. Why would they do that, everybody? Linking in with the Antarctic, this exploration. Anyway, Nimrod was the proton synchrotron which was sighted at the Rutherford Appleton Laboratory in 1964. Nearby facilities include the Isis neutron. Isis is, again, not a very good symbol. That is an Egyptian goddess, the god of whatever, I can't remember. I don't want to say the wrong stuff. But and the Morn source. the central laser facility, and the laboratories at Harwell and Curran, including the joint European Taurus jet project. It replaced the synchrotron radiation source. Now this, okay, it's a shame I haven't got it here. This, what I'm reading to you now, links to Michael Heseltine as well. So that then links with the cell towers, it links with the lead being removed from the paint. So is it that they are, these bigger facilities are somehow, well, I know they're linked into the cell towers. Maybe they're going to be somehow generating the power through the cell towers. I don't know. They're all possibly going to be connected in terms of physically connected through some sort of wiring system. I don't know in all of this. Or, we've still got to consider that it's a deception, but at the moment I think we need to consider it's all real. Diamond produced its first ever beam towards the end of January 2007 and was formally opened by Queen Elizabeth II on the 19th of October 2007, with these dates being either side of Madeleine McCann going missing and Exbourne Manor Freehold Limited being incorporated. A design study for the diamond light source took place during the 90s, when other important developments in the fraud and seemingly sinister agenda were taking place. And the study was completed in 2001, the year of the World Trade Center disaster, and the apparent positioning of the new priest of the Church of Satan. Pardon me. This study was taken place by scientists at Derrisbury, and construction began following the creation of the operating company, Diamond Light Source Limited, which we're obviously going to look at in a minute. The construction costs of 260 million covered the synchrotron building, the accelerators inside it, the first 7 experimental stations or beam lines, and the adjacent office block Diamond House. There's another motive, isn't there, for this to all be a lie? All of the, what a perfect excuse, ridiculous excuse, but perfect, I won't say perfect, a reason for them to give to then launder money through these facilities to exploit humanity even more. Now, don't forget, we'll be dealing with a load of drug dealers here and a load of drug users. Definitely, loads of them are going to be addicted. They're not going to be thinking rationally. They're going to have addicts that they're going to need to fund. So they are going to be continuously desperate for continuous amounts of money, not only to fund any habits, but the lifestyle that they have with their luxurious holidays, with their properties, with their sports cars and helicopters and jets that they're stealing from you the money from to pay for all of this. So through the company's house fraud. The facility is operated by Diamond Light Source Limited, a joint venture company established in March 2002, not long after the World Trade Center disaster. The company receives 86% of its funding from the UK government via the Science and Technology Facilities Council and 14% from the Wellcome Trust. The Wellcome Trust has significant links to the fraud, and in fact we're going to see more links in a minute. The beam of light may be related to a deception of the Iona St. Columbus prophecy, but I doubt it because these are all over the world. The Iona prophecy says that a beam of light will signify the end of the world, and it will be off the coast of Scotland, and a beam of light will shine out. Diamond Light Source Limited, the company, was incorporated as Code Note. Interesting. Code Note Limited in February 2002, 5 months after the World Trade Center disaster. Its name was changed for the last time in March, and the only time in March 2002, not long afterwards. It connects immediately to major areas of the centralized criminal network by Stanley Davis Group on its incorporation document. The person of significant control in the significant control tab shows notice of no relevant person. This was after the Pizzagate scandal was exposed in 2017, and Donald Trump was positioned. John Comfort connects Diamond Light Source Limited to Oxford Instruments companies, with Oxford Instruments PLC having already been connected directly to major areas of the fraud. The Goldsmiths, again, this is by the Goldsmiths Company trustee company that connects immediately to the leaders of Saudi Arabia, the Association of Police and Crime Commissioners, and much more, as shown elsewhere in the document. That's immediate connections into it from this Diamond Light Source now. John Gillespie Stewart connects Diamond Light Source Limited to various Wellcome Trust companies that have major connections throughout the research, including directly to the vaccine companies, AstraZeneca, the Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales, Lloyds Bank, Keir Starmer via the Death Penalty Project Limited, the case of Madeleine McCann, and P. Diddy, and much more, as shown throughout the document. David James Scott Cooksey connects Diamond Light Source Limited to 34 companies, including Pearl Group Holdings Limited, with Pearl companies making direct connections to the research of Princess Diana and the Pizzagate scandal. Cooksey also connects to various Foresight companies, with Foresight companies featured in the research of the leaders of China and making major connections in the criminal network. Cooksey also connects to Mary Rose companies and Portsmouth Historic Dockyard, where they were appointed in 1996 and resigned in June 2001 on the lead up to the World Trade Center deception. The company was incorporated as the flagship Portsmouth Trust in 1993, and its name was changed in December 2009 after I became a director at Exbourne Manor and the Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales was incorporated. As a registered address of the Portsmouth Naval Base that makes important connections to the Flemings, the Archbishop of Canterbury, and much more. It has McFarlane's on its incorporation document, linking quickly to Donald Trump and major areas of the fraud. Lionel Francis Allery of Southampton University's Hospital Trust, linking to Deborah Fleming and my inquiries at Exbourne Manor, is shown on page 4 of the incorporation document. Former MP Sir Philip Carter Goodhart and links to the Warrior Preservation Trust, shown on page 5, with HMS Warrior, where my sister married her husband, Richard Timms, whose family link immediately to the main Freemason Lodge, Exbourne Manor, Jimmy Savile, Elon Musk, Jeffrey Epstein, Gina Maxwell, and much more. Page 8 and 9 shows various companies linking with royalty, insurance companies, and Germany. Timothy James Livet connects Diamond Light Source Limited to 60 companies, including various Virgin companies. Oh my goodness me. They all need locking up. These people, like, we need to start arresting these people. It's just unreal. So we've got the Virgin Foundation again, connected to Diamond Light Source, the Pizzagate scandal, my wife's former employee. It's almost a joke, isn't it? Maybe it is a joke, but we can't live with a criminal system in place. Michael James Morgan connects Diamond Light Source Limited to 12 companies, including a Dorchester, Dorset company, close to my wife's brother, Lee Morton, and the Harkness Fellows Association they also connect to, and Transatlantic Trust, making immediate connections to the Egypt exploration. All right, so this now links in. Remember what we were just talking about with Julian Assange? It's the same company. The exact same company coming in from the Julian Assange doomsday cult now links in with the Light Source as well, coming in from a different angle altogether. The Light Source company now ties in with that. Remember, we had that Trump name, Ida Trump, there, which I am almost certain is going to be to do with Trump, Donald Trump, via Valerie Billingham, and that was initially established from the information provided by Brian Harvey regarding his former associates. This, combined with all evidence, suggests one of two things, really. There is a plan to cause a fake tribulation and possibly end all of creation, or there is an elaborate deception in place for the right person or people to uncover it, and that they are expecting those people to do something in relation to it all. And I'm going to leave it there. Yeah, that's it. I've covered other than the paint stuff. I've covered most of what I wanted to. I'm really tired. Has anyone got any questions before I go? If genuine, it's sad, but who can tell these days? Well, whichever way you look at it, all of these people need to be arrested. They need to be taken away from any influence upon any element of humanity. All right, because they're just deceivers. Whichever way you look at it. They're against creation, quite clearly. Otherwise, you wouldn't be deceiving in the first place, would you? You'd be trying to have a transparent system and have it all about truth and a foundation of truth and transparency. Because we all know that without truth, you can't have trust. So all they've done is set up no trust across the entire world, whichever way you look at it. Now, whether that's a deception or not, we're really facing a potential end of all of creation. I don't know. From the evidence, it looks as though we might be, but that could be set up as a test to see who's going to actually do something about this. Well, I'm going to tell you, I am. There's no way I'm going to sit back and do nothing about this. Now, as soon as I've got my evidence out, I'm thinking about what I'm going to be doing next, because I just need to get it to a point where my evidence is so together and it's got out to enough people that it doesn't matter what happens to me. And then at that point, I can do what I need to try and do. But I can't do this alone. I can't do this alone. I don't think I can. Gary, did you get that article I sent you? They kept removing it about recreating the Big Bang. No, I don't think I've seen it. No, I don't think I've seen it. I've read loads of stuff, but I mean, you've actually got Big Bang companies. There's a Big Bang company linked to Ghislaine Maxwell, linking in with the Christchurch earthquake. It's just unreal. And there's a science and technology company that was incorporated the year I was born, 1977, and dissolved in December 2022, which is the month that I made the first report of the fraud. It's possible. I mean, it's very likely that what I'm doing will determine the outcome in all of this. It's very, very likely that this evidence and what I do with it and what you do with it determines the outcome for all of civilization, one way or another. I'm pretty sure that's the case. And I think they wanted me to know that with the asteroid deception side of things. James put, how can we come together when we're not trusting each other? Well, you can't trust people unless they're talking about the company's house fraud. All right. Many people have been positioned as part of a deception. Now, I would love, if the rapid response team said, Gary, right, we're going to support you on this. I'll be, all right, brilliant. Help me, assist me. Let's get this evidence out there. Let's work together to prevent this. Let's go and arrest who they're not doing that. That's because they're massively implicated in it. But even if they came forward and did that, I'd work with them. Of course I would. All I'm concerned about is getting humanity through this, preventing any possible crimes to children, and ensuring that there is a system in place where this never happens again, and where there is equality and fairness and integrity for all of humanity. And a system where we can never live under deception again. With 92 on the end, small sneaky trick. God bless you, brother. Thanks for your good intent and action. I didn't see the 92, sorry. Also, think you should have to pay your own bill if in prison. Would definitely help stop small crime. Now you just need a non-corrupt courts. Yeah, we have to get people's courts in place. You can't have corporations linked to international government fraud running legal system. It won't work because there's no doubt they would have locked up innocent people. They put me in prison illegally for 12 days. That was completely illegal. Completely illegal. And they know it as well. That's why they haven't arrested me. Stay on it, Gary. I emailed it, Gary. Oh, okay. Thanks, Justine. I told you about the collider in Melbourne. Oh, thanks, Justine. Yeah, I knew somebody. Well, I didn't know who it was. Yeah, it's not a collider. It's a light source. It actually says in there it's not a collider. But these light sources, whatever they're doing with them, it is tied in with the collider technology without a question. It's all connected together. But, it could be we've just got, at the moment, I think we've got to presume, at the moment, based on what we've got, that the crimes are really happening against the children, including the most unimaginable crimes. I've got so much evidence suggesting it. So I think we need to presume at the moment that everything is real. And that way, whatever we do is going to be with the best intention, isn't it, to prevent it. Now, you know, those of you that are doing nothing in relation to this, I mean, unreal. If you're literally just waiting, you know, I can't do everything. Sorry, it's just unreal. I'm just laughing at the whole situation because it is just so beyond anything I've imagined I'd be doing. I never thought I'd be sitting here talking about all of this. But, you know, they're practically, I had a conversation with someone earlier, and they are telling you on the news that their system is causing harm to children. Well, at least sexual abuse to children. That means you all need to be getting up and doing something. All right? You need to be getting up and doing something. You can't just sit around anymore. We need better mental health services. You won't need any mental health services if you resolve this international fraud. This is what's causing all of the mental health problems. Absolutely. And they've actually got a system in place that actually increases it. They're behind the whole lot. With 92 on the end. Oh, sorry, you're talking amongst each other, are you? Mental health comes from eating the right foods. It comes from a lot of things. Being overworked when you don't need to be. Being poisoned through the air, through the water, through the food, through radiation, through your phones, through your televisions, through your, what do you call it, your router. You don't call them a router now, do you? I can't remember what they're called, but you know what I mean, in your homes. Mental health, not exercise. You know, there's so many different things, but the system that's in place is the biggest problem. If you remove this system and you have a system based on truth and transparency, you will remove all of the mental health problems. You will end up, and that won't be immediate, of course it won't. You're going to have the people in this generation that are, you know, have been born from now are going to struggle, but the future generations will live in practical paradise. I look up the chat about 30 messages. Fake Vanessa account. Yeah, I think somebody's been pretending to be Vanessa, but I'm not too sure on here which one is. I think 7429, I think, is the real Vanessa. I don't know. It's interesting. Vanessa and I were speaking about what's his name, Greg Hallett, and I spoke to Greg Hallett, who claims to be the real king, last year, 2024, I think, for about an hour, and I never heard from him again after, even though I was sending him all of my evidence about Vanessa, never heard from him. Well, Vanessa found a record that could well be him. I still need to do a bit more digging on it, that links straight to Donald Trump. So, via Oracle. Now, if that's him, then that means, and he links to Donald Trump, then that's massive, because that means they're positioning people to try and come in as a fake queen, probably to cover Vanessa, or whoever is, you know, and we have to assume that Vanessa's telling the truth based on all of the evidence at the moment, or to cover the real heir to the throne in all of this. They blocked Vanessa so she couldn't see them. Looks exactly the same as her account. Oh, 92 other than 29 at the end. I think they're lying. That's what the article is showing. Project Bluebeam. Yeah, I'm aware of Project Bluebeam. I haven't actually researched it. You know, I think we've got so much evidence here. You know, we've got so much evidence. We need to act on it now. With the information that I said, to send someone a message on YouTube earlier, and I said, look, even without my evidence, you should be going and arresting these people now. what I'm saying. They're telling you on the news what they're doing, not to the extent of the evidence that I've got, but if there's any element of children suffering, and it's part of the system which they're telling you, you've got government officials tying in with all of this, then you need to be removing these people. You need to go and be arresting them and trying to get the police to do the right thing. Schizophrenia is caused by severe villi damage, that looks like. Tell the fake Vanessa to unblock me. Oh my goodness. Please check your emails, Gary. They removed the link I sent you 5 times. I'm not checking any emails until I've got this document done. I need to, because what I'll be doing, otherwise I'll just be duplicating my time. And I know, I'm sorry to everybody that's emailed me. I need to get this document done, and then I'll go through all of my emails and respond and send out the document at the same time. I need to focus on getting this document done. I'm sorry. I know that's frustrating with everybody trying to give me information. I appreciate that. Food is the main problem. Poison, psych meals. Why would anyone fake being Vanessa? She seems sweet. Shame on the faker. Gary, block my imposter, Vanessa 7492. Is that definitely you, though? I can't remember which one's you, Vanessa. You're going to have to send me a private message. I'll do it next time. Don't worry about it for now, unless they're causing too many issues. I'm just going to see if there's a question. I see you, Carla. Oh. We couldn't comment properly last night, Gary. Oh, right, okay. The criminals are running the judiciary. Yeah, 100%. The whole judiciary is criminal. They would have imprisoned, very likely, very many, so many innocent people in all of this. All right. It's all just it's just unbelievable. This is why they haven't responded. I keep putting police reports in. I'm not even getting a response now because they know it's over for them. Now it looks as though pretty sure that was a police dog trying to find me. So very possibly they were going to poison me to try and get rid of me because they haven't really got a lot of options with me. Let's face it. Gary, will Gary Veal damage stomach? Yes, Gary Villi damage stomach. I don't know what that Villi is. It looks like it's saying Villi, V-I-L-L-I. I don't even know what that is. Sorry, I'm being silly. Poison food, poison water, poison that we breathe. We are getting it from all angles. Yeah, we certainly appear to be. We're being led to believe that's the case. It could be a deception again. It could be a deception to, test you. Are you going to stop them? It could be what the cloud spraying's about. Look, let's spray the clouds. Let's tell them through social media that we're potentially poisoning them. And let's see if they still do anything about us. I've never heard of Villi, I'm sorry. I've never heard of that. And so it looks as though I'm not the only one as well. There are a few scammers in this chat, Gary. Yeah, very likely. I think we're there. I know there's going to be probably questions I've missed, but I'm going to leave it there for tonight. Thank you very much for listening. I don't really know what else to say other than it's just mind-blowing. So I'm going to do a little bit more. Hopefully get this document out. Because once it's out, it's great for me because it takes that pressure off of me knowing that part's done. I've sent it out to everyone and then I can sort of relax a little bit or just think about what I do next. Because this is literally every day of my life, all day, every day. It's, it's very consuming, but I'm fine with it. I can deal with it. And I know it's got to be done. But, I can't wait to have some sort of life for myself at some point. It will be nice, but it is what it is at the moment. And one way or another, I'm either going to be unalived or imprisoned, or I'm going to change the world. It's going to be one of those three things with me, I think. And I don't think I'll stop until one of those three things happen. So we'll see. Anyway, take care. I've no idea what the time is. My watch strap broke earlier. That was very frustrating. Woke up this morning and I must have twisted it in the night. It was only a cheap watch, but it's not worth. It's probably worth less than getting a new strap. So that was frustrating. And my little airbed is continuously deflating, so I have to blow it up probably at least once or twice in the night. Just I need to, when I get a chance, try and find out if there's a little hole in it somewhere. But it could be a lot worse for me. So I tend to sleep really well, actually. Even with all of this going on, I sleep very well. So it's good. And then tomorrow is another day, and see what I can find out, see what evidence I can get it in this document. Get very frustrated with some of the little mistakes and spelling mistakes. I mean, there's no spell check. They've got rid of the spell check on my document producer, but and because it's all on my phone and I'm getting a bit older now, I can't see it quite so well. So then when I read through it, whether it's on a live or whatever, I do frustrate myself when I've made a few spelling mistakes. But you know, it's a small thing, really. I've had no responses from my emails, by the way, to any members of the Parliament. They're all just ignoring it. Even my own MP, no response whatsoever, which is interesting. And the evidence, my goodness me, the evidence I found from just unreal, coming from Tobias Ellwood, who's the MP for Exbourne Manor. It's just incredible. It's just incredible. He's massively implicated, and you can see how it then links into a round table. Bearing in mind we're talking about the charity, the Knights, or not the charity, the Society of the Knights of the Round Table. You then link into the Round Table organisation, where my wife's, hold on, let me get this right. My father-in-law's ex-wife, whatever that would be, ex-wife, had a fairly prominent position, I believe, in the Round Table Children's Wish, and I've done research through that, and it's just unbelievable what I found. So, and I actually came in. it's just so. I'll just say this quickly because it is really quite incredible, and I will do a live on it. Tobias Ellwood, was the MP for Eastcliff area of Bournemouth, which is where Jimmy Savile had the property and where Exbourne Manor is based. He was also the MP that happened to be at the was it Houses of Parliament or Buckingham Palace? It was one of those when PC Keith Palmer got apparently attacked. So, it just blew me away. So he happened to be there and was trying to save his life. I researched Keith Palmer and what's his name? The suspect, the person that had conducted the attack, and they both linked to Elon Musk. The exact same company that links to my brother-in-law, from the suspect and from the deceased Keith Palmer. Unbelievable. So, and obviously there's fraud there as well all the way through it. So that was, I've got to say, that looks like that was a complete lie and a deception. So yeah, very interesting. Anyway, I'm going to let you go. I'm running out of things to say anyway. So take care, everyone, and catch up very soon. All the best. Take care. Bye-bye. How do I stop this? There's no button to stop it. How do how did I stop it last? Oh, it's there. It's that little cross, little tiny cross top left. Night, everyone. Take care.